My name's David Atkins, target individual. Okay, November 9th, I sat through a Zoom call where the details of a lawsuit, how to join the lawsuit, and where to get the affidavits and all that. The whole process is explained in this video. There's a lawsuit in Connecticut, and there's also one by CIS and Ryan Mitchell. I'm not sure if that got talked about later on, the other lawsuit I just talked about, because I was only there an hour and a half and I was starting to get hit, so I left. So, you know, I was asked to share it. I'm neutral, you know. I do, as far as the information is shared in there, that's what I'm saying. I don't agree with everything that's how it's done. But different people research different stuff and think different stuff. Now, am I not saying there wasn't good information in there? Not at all. There's very good information in there. Some things I disagree with, but the basic facts is if you put every TI in a room and show people different information, not everybody's going to agree on stuff. So it's okay. So anyway, here it is. This is about 2 lawsuits, how to join and where to go to join, how to submit your forms, and any information in there is just part of the Zoom call. I'm not putting it up as 100% information because I disagree with some of it, but I'm putting it up as an informative video. If you want to join these lawsuits, I'm neutral. Just listen to what they got to say and make your minds for yourself. Okay. But you need to get on your toes if you want to join the lawsuit in Connecticut, because I think there's like a 30-day deadline on November 9th. So it's November 15th right now. So if you really want to participate that, you want to get on your toes, I think it's more of a 5G and 5G lawsuit. So, and the other one is going to take more time, and it's the CIS lawsuit is forming still, and you can still sign up on the website. So anyway, like I said, I'm neutral. You just listen to it and determine stuff on your own. So God bless y'all. God bless all TIs. And here it is.
Other people joining.
What's up, fucker?
Hey, so I'm recording this one, Billy.
All right.
We got Amy on the line, and there should be a few others that might join. Kind of gonna go over Amy's lawsuit that she's got going on. We have CIS.
I don't know Amy. Who's Amy?
Amy Holmes. She has.
Oh, Amy Holmes.
Yeah,
Okay.
she's got a TI lawsuit as well as CIS, and she's got a bunch of information on it so they could have firsthand knowledge instead of secondhand knowledge. I kind of want to address any what the lawsuit's about, how long do we have, and if there's any fees, what kind of evidence specifically are you looking at, and kind of how it would affect the ones that have already registered from CIS.
Right.
Look
at this fucking parking I did last night.
Okay, sweetheart, I'm recording right now. I guess. So
I just came out here and looked at this fucking car. I said, I'm the only fucking car that can't hit the white line.
Billy, she's a very busy woman, so let's let her speak. I love you.
I didn't know she was on.
Yeah,
I can't see anybody. Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah, she's on.
Just swipe right. I see it.
This is Amy Holmes, and she has a lawsuit that's already in the courts with Connecticut, and she's going to give us the information about it.
Okay.
Meet your mic.
Yeah, hold on, let me. Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Amy Holland, and I am helping out with the lawsuit out in Connecticut. This is basically a civil procedure lawsuit, and what it is a lawsuit about the 5G, 6G technology systems. It's going to be about the stalking, the harassment, and the video voyeurism aspects of the technology companies and what they are doing and how they are committing the different crimes against us and being able to illegally spy and monitor on the US citizens. Now, with the 5G technology lawsuit, they're going after different companies such as Verizon, Charter Spectrum, Qualcomm. I just talked to them about going after Zigbee and General Electric as well. There's about 54 defendants that have been named in the case. Now, since there are no lawyers currently at their time, this case is all pro se. So everything done is done by either you or me, and the motions are filed by us in order to counter the motions that have been filed by the defendants. Now, it already has been accepted into federal court, and the last motion that was filed, John Flynn did beat. Now, John Flynn is the one that actually created the lawsuit, not me. He just contacted me to let me know and ask for help to see if he could get more plaintiffs with inside of the community. Now, the plaintiffs are you guys being in a pro se civil case. So basically what that means is we need to collect affidavits of people who are interested in joining in the lawsuit. The affidavit would get your place in as a plaintiff. And if you have the evidence to back it up, we could add additional defendants that we are going after to prove the crimes. Now, the affidavit can be done two ways. You can write an affidavit and then just submit it into the court system and not testify. That will be entered in as a witness statement. And if you write an affidavit and want to testify inside federal court, that will be entered in as a plaintiff. And you can go in to the courtroom and testify and show your evidence to back up your claim to go back after the people who are committing these crimes against humanity and doing the illegal spying and operations. So currently right now we're at that stage. We have about a month and a half. I told them I would like a month at least to get the affidavits collected. So the sooner you get the affidavits collected, the sooner that we can start this lawsuit. It's going to start in about February, March anyways. So we have to make sure that all the evidence is submitted about these crimes and that we finally get everybody in order. When you send in an affidavit to me, basically what that affidavit will do is you can either testify or you can't. If you tell me you want to testify, I move that affidavit forward into the court system, and we set up a date and time for you to talk with me and John Flynn, and we go over your evidence with you, and then we assign a date and time that you can testify inside the federal court. Now, I know a lot of people are asking about Zoom conferences. We don't want a lot of Zoom conferences because that doesn't show a great amount of perseverance, I guess you might say. When you're inside of a courtroom and going over the evidence and everything that you need to be accessible. You need to have your photos and your diagrams and your analytics and your datas and everything else in order to support your case. So being inside of the courtroom in a federal court is 10 times better than doing it by Zoom, but we are not doing Zoom cases currently at that time. So if you want to, we could try to set that up, but that is something you will have to do with the court yourself because you are pro se. So any claims that you guys make within that affidavit, you make sure that you have the evidence to back up your claim. I have written a template for those people who do not know how to write an affidavit. The template is on my website on the events page, and my website is www.amy'saudios, AIMEESAUDIOS.com. And you go to that events page, there's a written template. Now, I don't tell you what to say, how to say it. I give you suggestions. And I also provide links for those suggestions. And I also have different forms of network information that you guys can use to learn about the different technology so you could write about it too. So for instance, if you're a victim that says they have cameras in the eyes, right? Remote neural monitoring. And you don't have those x-rays, doctor's evidence, you are just saying that you're chipped without that evidence or photos, you might not want to make that statement. You might want to make a statement like, I feel there is an unidentified object in my eye. Or you would want to use technology terms, saying, using BCI technology, brain-computer interface technology, they can connect from the computer system to my optical nerve using a neural network, and CLUT software as an example. And they can import images from the input-output aspects where it hits my visual cone and I can see the pictures and the images inside of my brain. That would be a technological term in order for you guys to be relevant to the technology and the 5G and 6G technologies that are being used. The lawsuits are also about satellites and drones as well. Satellite drones, directed energy weapons, stalking, harassment, video voyeurism, sex exploitation, and sex trafficking. Those are being done through the video voyeurism aspects. The case can be changed up at any given point in time, but the judge hates when the cases change constantly. So the faster we get the affidavits in, the faster I know what laws are being broken, and we could start claiming the criminal laws that are being violated against the criminals, and we could add federal and state statutes on your behalf. So if you say that you're being followed every single where, that could be considered stalking, because stalking is done by one person, although it's a group. You often use the term gang stalking. Well, gang stalking is not a crime. Stalking is a crime. So we have to use federal statutes of which you're experiencing. Conspiracy to murder is a crime, and that has the definition of gang stalking into it. A group of people, a conspiracy to murder, which is a federal crime and statute, is a group of people working together in order to harass, intimidate, harm, or torture a person. So we would want to use that statute instead of gang stalking or terminology. We're trying to make it as realistic as possible. I know that's not possible inside the TI community because a lot of you don't know about the different types of technology. But that is why I provided the examples on my website for you guys to read up on, to learn, and maybe use that as an example of how they are targeting and harassing you. And that would be more accepted into the court systems than just writing a single paragraph or something like that. So you want to make sure to elaborate on your feelings. Just don't say I'm stalked and harassed and hit with directed energy weapons and think that affidavit is good enough. No, an affidavit is basically a timeline of your experience, the whole entire time of your targeting experience. So from beginning to end, you want to make sure that you put dates, months, times, tell your story. When you first learned you were a target, how did you learn you were a target? You want to talk about different aspects like elaboration on it. I called the police to file a police report because I was being followed by my next door neighbor. The police officer told me, what did the police officer tell you? You just can't say the cop did nothing. You have to show a storyline, a continual pattern. What did the cop tell you? Why did he not take a police report? Did he give you a police report? Did he give you a case number? What is that case number? Because any case numbers are relevant to a federal lawsuit and they could actually look it up and you could use that as portions of the evidence and subpoena that evidence inside of the court system. Not only that, but we could bring in the officer and possibly get him as being an accomplice. So what was the officer's name? What was his badge number? Do you have that information written down? You want to make sure you're as detailed as possible with inside of that affidavit. When you're talking about directed energy weapons, don't a lot of you just think that directed energy weapons are just microwave. There are 10 times more directed energy weapons. You got subsonic, you got subacoustics, you got infrared, you got ultraviolet light, you got laser, you got thermal, you got electrical burns, you got radiation, you got microwave, x-ray radiation, gamma radiation, infrared, infrared. You got all these different types of microwave directed energy weapons that you need to be so specific and describe what those directed energy weapons are. What type of effect are they causing you? Is it an electrical burn? Is it a zapping sensation? Are you itching on your body? A lot of people just say, oh, I'm hit. Okay, well, can you elaborate from that? You need to elaborate on your situation. If you want to testify, you have to make it believable. And you need to talk about this technology in a realistic way. So we have about a month to get all of these people together. And if I seem a little short, it's because we are on a very such time crunch. Don't contact me and tell me that you're not interested. Okay, thank you, bye. I have to move forward. We have to move forward as a group and a TI community. We either work together or we don't work together. That is your choice. So anything with the pro se aspects, you're responsible for the payments. And that's the problem with the TI community. You don't have the money or the funding. A lot of you are homeless and broke, and you want everybody else to pay your way. Well, that's not going to happen here. This is a pro se case, which means you're responsible for submitting your own evidence. You're responsible for your own fees, and you're going to be responsible for your own travel costs. That's how class action lawsuits work. Everybody in the community it does not have a great sum of money. And we all need to work together in order to create the funding for these lawsuits. But unless we start stepping up and doing it that way, it's really, really hard to get these class action lawsuits going. I was talking to Maria and getting with Ryan, and also talking about the CIS lawsuit as well. I still have to I emailed them, and I still have not received any responses yet. So maybe I could get another phone number, and I know how busy he is, but that may be another lawsuit that everybody else can join, and you would have to talk to Marie on that. I'm still seeing how I could help out in that situation. I know that I can enter as an expert witness. Here with the Connecticut lawsuit, I'm not thinking about being an expert witness. I'm thinking about being a victim instead. So I could enter in my own evidence and go to the courthouse and get the lawsuit in. A lot of my evidence is against the U.S. government, the DOD, the Veterans Affairs. I have different aerial units, photography, phone calls to prove hacking. And I can prove a lot of different crimes that are being committed just on myself, than representing everybody inside of the community or any of my clients. So if my clients want to join in, they are more than welcome to, but they would have to submit their evidence separately. I could still represent them as the expert witness to their evidence, but if I would go in as a company and file, we would have to rewrite the whole entire case. So we don't want to do that. It's already been accepted. We're already going after these major companies and corporations. With John, we're going to be adding more defendants in there. Inside the template, there's a defendant spot. And if you're testifying, you can write who you have evidence of that is doing this to you. If you do not have that evidence of that company or that corporation, I suggest you leave it blank and you allow us later to fill in that gap, and we could add more defendants than we already have. I gave you guys the case number as well. That is on the template, so you guys can Google that self, and you can look up that lawsuit yourself on that. And it's at the New Haven Courthouse Judicial District. So you could just go to that website, type in the case number, and you could pull up all the dockets already. And you could read all the dockets that already been promoted on there too. So that is one aspect that you do. So right now, that's where we're at within the Connecticut lawsuit. I'm still learning more about it. Like I said, John Flynn is the one that is running and operating the lawsuit. Not me. I'm just trying to help collect affidavits and get people interested inside the lawsuit, if not. So with that being said, Maria, I'll give it back to you.
Thank you, Amy. I appreciate that. Ryan's number is 602-769-0036. And it kind of sounds a little similar to what Ryan's going after.
What is 602-769?
Oh, sorry, hold on. 602-769-0036. 0036.
0036. Okay, thank you.
And I know he said that he'd be more than willing to work with you, and being, he would definitely be an expert witness as well. It kind of sounds similar to Ryan's lawsuit. He's pretty much going after everything that he could possibly can. So on the evident aspect, you're going after the main company. So say I got text messages from Verizon and Apple where I was showing them evidence of people linking to my phone and filing complaints over a 3-month period. Is that the type of evidence you're looking for?
Yes, and we'll be able to subpoena that evidence too, like your call logs and your call records as well.
Oh,
So you'll be able to match and date and time stamp when exactly you called Verizon. Another part of it is AT&T and Motorola. Like I said, there's 54, Charter Spectrum. And you can show that evidence and proof that you attempted to file a complaint and talk about the hacking inside of the phone, or see what they were willing to do with the programming. If you went to Geek Squad, filed a complaint, and they came back with a report, you could submit that report and as evidence, as a deterrent, because Geek Squad actually belongs to Best Buy, which also has third-party contracts with the Department of Defense. So,
also, yesterday I was talking on a group meeting with an officer, and instead of writing gang stalking, he recommended writing deprived of civil rights by 2 or more individuals. Instead of writing gang stalking, because a lot of the officers don't know how to address gang stalking. But if you write down you're being deprived of your civil rights by more than 1 or 2 or more individuals, that's a legal term that they understand. The other thing, you said my body scans weren't no good, even though it proved that I have circuitry in, and the photo evidence of the cameras in my eyes, by my perpetrators. So if they have body scans, are you saying that they're not submissible evidence?
I'm saying that body scan, that wording in court will not suffice. If you look, do you have that up right now?
My
Can
body
you
scan.
can you show people the wording
Oh, no,
behind it?
ma'am. No, ma'am. Not right now.
Oh, okay. All right. I can't remember in there, but it said it had no along those lines. It showed no harm to your physical body or no connection to your physical body.
Even if I went to the hospital repeatedly and got evidence of that?
No, that would be considered evidence, but that report, when it says I discovered frequencies in that range and it did not show any connection to your personal body. That's what I was reading inside the report, and that is not a good aspect to have. Yes, it shows that they found it, but not connecting directly to your body.
Oh, so I have to have them rewrite it.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So with the thermal scan that you showed me as well, all he did was talk about the heat, showing he wrote one sentence on the heat being a little above average. But when I was reading your scale, it was at a 97.2 and a 98.6, which is honestly depending on how he set the room. But did he write how he set the room up? What was the temperature scale at?
In like the 60s?
Yeah, but that's not written down in the thermal report.
Okay.
He did not state anything to tell why that heat was elevated. He didn't elaborate on it. He just said it was a hot spot on your body. And the location of that hotspot is known as a convection point, which means that area on your body releases heat anyways, naturally, with inside a certain range.
Right.
So,
Sorry. So, I seen that you also do body scans. Can you elaborate on that services and kind of give an idea what the budget range is for other TIs that might want body scans?
okay, so I do thermal tomography, and basically that's a thermal scan like you have, except your report was only 4 images, where I take over 250 pictures of your body. I can identify the different wavelengths. I can prove the radiation in your body. I can tell what type of radiation it is in your body. I could prove the attacks on your nervous system, what part of the nerve that is being hit, if it's a vein, if it's an artery, if it's a muscle, if it's a bone that they are conducting or that they are hitting or they are destroying with that directed energy weapon. I could prove different aspects. I got my report tested. I'm working on paying the lawyer right now for a full report of it. They did approve it, and they did say that my report was airtight, meaning that, and it was very heavy, meaning that there's no way that they can disprove my findings. Now, I'm not just trying to promote me. I was just trying to talk to you about your thermals because you already got those thermal scans. Now, if you have additional thermal scans and you got those out yourself, you can submit those into court, but you would need an expert trying to explain it on your behalf, which would be me.
Right.
Or you would need that person to testify on your behalf in that company and corporation.
He's agreed to.
Yeah. Okay. So if that's the case, then we can give him a subpoena into the court system and pull him in and talk about the harassment that you were specifically experiencing. That would be done through John Flynn. And if that's only if you want to testify, though. If you're not testifying, all we do is need that written affidavit, and it's considered a written testimony. So, but with the thermal tomography report, I also proved the BCI technology. I've been able to prove portions of Havana syndrome, like through the cochlea, the vestibular, the facial nerve system, manipulation, forced body movement, curls of toes, muscle spasms, dehydration, eye movements, eye fluctuations, connections into the optical nerves, the cones. I've been able to prove forced sneezing. I've been able to, now each victim is different. So none of my reports are the same. None. My reports are also about 250 pages long. And considering that your report, whoever you went to, was only like 9 pages long and showed 4 images. There's more attacks on your body than just your head and your chest. You got your arms, your legs, your feet, your ankles, your stomach, your breasts, your butt, your your back,
Yep.
your whole entire body, your head. How many field burning stations on the back of your neck?
His nonlinear juncture showed I was covered head to toe. There was almost 13 devices in my head alone. My eyes, the back of the ears, the back of the head, the base of the spine, in my throat, on my face.
And mainly they hit that because they mainly hit the thyroid gland and the larynx and the voice box because the iodine that's created inside of your throat.
My tonsils has been swollen for the last 8 years. But I mean, it showed in my arms, in my forearms, in my calves, in my hips, in my butt, on my ankles, on my hands. Yeah,
but I didn't see that chart.
it's in the video. It was in the video.
Oh, okay, okay. I didn't
Non-linear
look at the
junction
video.
video.
I apologize for that. Okay.
He did the Wi-Fi spectrum. He did the thermal heat sensing. He did the radio frequency. The only one that was put in radio frequency at the time, and that was because they were attacking me. And that he says that's the only reason why it gave radio frequency is because they were utilizing that one. It was the one in my butt where I have the radiation burn scars.
Okay.
That was the only one that gave off radio frequency. And I was out of a group of individuals that got body scanned. And the only reason why he documented my thermal heat sensing is because I was 2 degrees higher than the rest of the group. He did have his motel room set down at 60, where I was freezing and I was still putting off a lot of thermal heat sensing. And that was because my perpetrators were there outside the motel room where we were getting our body scans. The other girl that had her scans with me, it went off in all the same spots. But he did stop doing body scans right after mine. And that I think it was mainly because he knew I was a targeted individual one, a true one. But he went on probably about 25 different Wi-Fi spectrums and recorded the Wi-Fi network that it was emitting. But when he first did it, he kind of went over briefly, and then I was very specific on all the places I was attacked, and that's where the non-linear juncture kept going off. So everything was shut down. They turned everything off while he was doing the scans, but the non-linear juncture showed it no matter what.
Yeah, and that is good evidence. Now, I do have my own personal theory on that. And mainly that is because a lot of those are because they have to have some form of sensor or transmitter and receiver in order to create a ping, right? But during my audio analysis, a lot of them can be moved inside of the body. And that could be underneath, and that depends if it's more like a graphene or so I'm not sure. My theory is that yes, that is in fact conducting a spot and location, but I don't think that is conducting a spot and location where a chip or sensor is. I think it's where the proteins are, the heavy metals inside of the body, and they can accumulate those heavy metals inside of the body because our bodies naturally produce like magnesium or iron or potassium or glutamate, which are chemicals that they use for the attacks. Right. And they also manipulate the red blood cells and the white blood cells. They use the red blood cells for the oxygen and what they're calling an ionization process. So when they're hitting that mark and location, that could be just depending on what they were hitting, but that's where the examination of your body comes into play. I also do a body analysis with a magnetic resonance machine, and I can prove the electromagnetic and the different types of heavy metals inside of your body system as well, different oxygen levels, neurotransmitters, vitamin depletions, which connect to the Neuralink technology systems. But that's all not in there with the linear. So that's why my theory can't be proven, because one, I don't have the nonlinear machine to do that type of testing with, and I'm not working with the same company that you worked with, right? To go over or ask questions or even do maybe some side experiments on it. But I believe those are conduction points.
It was all on my major, it was the pressure points on all the nervous systems. So your whole nervous system, you got direct access to your pressure points, and every pressure point, major pressure point on your nervous system is where that non-linear juncture went off at.
Yeah, but technically the only way that they could do a proof full nervous system is a nerve conduction testing. Mm-hmm. And you would need that nerve conduction testing to verify if there was damage within those same spots and locations of your body that the nonlinear junction picked up. Does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I did have I had a heart monitor on one for a month, and she did tell me where they were attacking my heart. That well, she didn't specify because of the attacks, but that's where they were attacking me on my breastplate, on my heart. But one of the chambers was damaged when she did the ultrasound, which had no reason to be damaged. I mean, I'm a pretty healthy individual. Um, I will. I also had CT scans with this where they told me it was a cancerous, but then they refused to remove them, and they've been swollen for the last 8 years. Um, and then they said there was a spot in my lungs where they've affected my breathing. I say it's from affecting my breathing, but they just said it was a cyst. But they attacked all those different areas. But I mean,
Right.
those are medical documentations I carried out. Now, the other question I have, will this affect Ryan's class action lawsuit if they register for yours?
No, this will not, because evidence can be used in different lawsuits in different cases, especially in different states and different jurisdictions. I don't know how it works on a federal level with the evidence, because if it depends on how fast it goes through, right? If it was accepted inside of the court system and we won our court case, then you're able to use that court case as an example for Ryan's case.
Mm-hmm.
And you can associate that with, because you were a plaintiff.
Right.
If Ryan's goes first or if it gets denied, you should be able to use that evidence again with a different lawsuit in a different spot in a different location.
Okay, so now I know that you said there's some fees involved. Do you have an estimated value on what the fees might consist on for some of the targeted individuals that might have to save some money?
Right now, it's travel costs
Travel costs.
when you're submitting your evidence. So, like, there's going to be, but all of those are charged in usually at the end of the case.
And they're not allowed to do an appearance by phone for those that are out of the state?
Right, because this is civil procedure, there could be negotiations with those major companies and corporations.
Okay.
So they can choose to do a payout, but we would have to take that payout as pro se, because if you're going after like the FBI or the DOD, you have to make sure you have evidence that connects to them. I know DARPA is involved with the class action. HARP is another claimant of the class action. Like I said, I told him to add. I still have to talk to John on that. But as we go over the affidavits, we'll determine which category you go under, because there's two different parts of it. Like New York is conducting the sex trafficking and the sex exploitation, while Connecticut is going after the 5G technology systems. I was talking about me entering my evidence down in Florida and then going after NASA. So, but
Air Force Base is the one I think is conducting all mine, because I'm from Florida as well. And my son's a United States Marine, but which is
yeah. And
awesome.
if he's a veteran, or if he is an active duty member or part of the Coast Guard or something like that,
Active,
it
yep.
may be relating to the government and that military base and installation.
Mhm.
Now we need to verify that, and like you either have to have some form of traced IPs, you have to have FOIA requests, what type of weapon systems is on that military base.
Yes, ma'am. So I also heard that you have an app that we could track the IP address to the phones that are hooked onto us and their location and phone numbers.
Currently not now. I am building it at this time. I'm hoping it will be released by the end of next year. We're still in the designing portion. Um, and once the design stage is done, then we could go into the engineering portions of it.
Is there a way to track the phone numbers that are linked to our phones? Like when we
Yes, there are different forensic tools. There one is called OSNT, OSINT. So let's say you're getting a robocall and these calls. You can look up that information using this OSNT framework tool. And you can do reverse imaging. There are tools to do reverse imaging. There are tools to do phone looks up email addresses, validation techniques. When you get an email, you think from a perpetrator, you can run IP addresses through the header information inside of your emails. You can match that up and gather information with these tools. You could get a home address.
what about specific devices? Like if it shows up iPhone or accessories or
I would use for now Big Data Tool. It's an app that you could download. It's called IP Big Data or Big Data Tool, and you can download it from your Play Store. But my suggestion is to hook it up to your router and run that information through your own personal Wi-Fi. And the reason you want to do that is because otherwise it's running on Opus access points. And you're not collecting just information on you, but you're capturing information on your whole entire surroundings, whether you're at like McDonald's or a store, how many customers are on that IP address or using that open access point. You want to make sure that you have a closed point, and that's within inside your home. So if you install it and put in your router information and then run the IP address, it will show the different IPs who are snooping on you, who it belongs to, the United States or China, or if it's being transferred. It also gives you ASN information as well, which is actually very important when you're connecting and trying to prove the different networks. But you also have to know about your data in your cellular device and who your contractors are. Where's the data being stored? Where is the headquarters? Where's your carrier's office, right? Because each company and a corporation assigns that number to you. And that's that IP protocol in relation to like the ASN network
so if
information.
you have your IP address, you can pull up everybody's that is hooked to yours.
Yes, but you need to be connected to your router in order to do that. Otherwise, you're going to be providing false information if you're using open access points. You want to make sure it's a closed point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
But you could use IP addresses. A great way to collect evidence is from because everybody's devices, cell phones are hacked. So basically, what you do is you use your cell phone and you send a message to your email address. So to the sender, you would put your email address and then you would write a message, hello, beautiful, and then send it to yourself, right? And then when you look up that header information, there will be IP addresses. You could run those IP addresses underneath whose name or who am I or what's my IP. Um, there's a bunch of different, you could Google it. I did provide some sources down there for everybody. inside of the template. But you could run those IP addresses and get information too and see if it connects or if it is somebody. And then you could identify that person because it will show up on your email. But you have to go inside your header in order to do that. So you would hit like view HTML. You would hit the 3 bars in the corner and then it would say inspect or in view HTML or and you would click that depending on which email address you're using. Are you using a Gmail account, Yahoo account? They all have different locations and statements. But if you say inspect or view HTML, there will be IP addresses, and usually the IP addresses will they're not the MAC addresses, but you could run MAC addresses too with the OSET tool and do individual searches through the ASN network systems as well. So it is actually a great tool. You could do some IP tracing yourself and connect the dots and see who you're connected to. I know when I use the DoD IP big data tool, I had over 64 Department of Defense, 132 Air Force. So 72 Marines, different Marine units.
Are you going after the individuals as well, if they could prove that?
I'm not going after the individuals. I'm going after the projects.
Mhm.
And with my certain evidence for me, specifically for me, or are you talking about like collectively?
Collectively.
Okay. So collectively, we could only go after the people that we could prove who are involved and with the evidence that we collect together as pro se victims.
Okay.
Yeah.
The other thing is if people wanted to join after it's been submitted to the court, do they have an option that they could?
I'm sorry, repeat that.
If after you submit all your plaintiffs to the court, is there an option to add other individuals if they wanted to join?
After a certain time period, no. But you could still write an affidavit and write a witness statement.
Okay. And you're not accepting any video testimony, it just all has to be written.
Currently not at this time. We did talk about it, but I told him that would be too much work for me.
Okay.
And the reason that is because I have to spend all that time downloading all the files, reviewing all the files, and then uploading them, and then sending them to John, and then submitting them to the court system, and working back and forth, where a PDF file is easier to attach. Some video testimonies could be an hour to 2 hours long. It could take 4 hours to upload. So it's very, very time consuming. And within this month time span, I would prefer to, because I do run my own business for the TIs in the community, gathering and collecting evidence for you all. I still have reports to write. I don't have time to download and upload and do all of this other stuff for the video testimony components.
And
so currently at this time,
sorry, if we wanted to obtain your services, do you travel to different states for the service, or do they have to travel to you? And what is your general base fee?
The only thing you need to travel for is the thermal tomography, the physical photos, and the thermal scans. I like that other person. I set the room for 60-degree temperatures and I take different images. I only charge $75 an hour for that. So that's only $225. I think it takes about 2-3 hours. Depending on how long it takes you as a person. If you're having problems standing, it's going to take longer. If you need to sit down every 5 minutes, it's going to take longer. If you have some personal injuries that are stopping you from getting the scan, it's going to take longer. So it's done by an hourly rate. Usually on average, the test, I do 3 different types of tests. I do the body analysis test, I do the physical examination, and I do the thermal imaging photos. Each picture, each grouping has about 250 different types of photos on your bodies. I won't be able to have the report done in time for the court case, but at least you would have the pictures and images to use. And you could call me in as an expert to validate those pictures and images, and we could go over them.
So
together,
after you
things
submit
like
your
that.
evidence, they don't give you an option to where you could submit further evidence down the
No,
line.
you can, but within a specific time frame. Once all the civil procedures start, which each of the companies and corporations, they all have to align together. So that's it's mainly going to all be proving the radiation on your body, and that's what we need is the radiation, the harmful, how electromagnetic waves, the radiation is harmful for your body. The hacking of your cell phone and your network components. What hidden features are inside of your cell phone? Look up your specifications of your electronic device. Do they have gyroscope? Is it facial recognition systems? Is it a GPS system? Is it GLONASS? I call it GLONASS, GLONASS. Or is it from China? Do they have satellite observatory information? What type of accelerometer are you using? Is the proximity sensor being used? A lot of that evidence can be proven just by your specifications and its capabilities.
Can you
And
go through,
real-time
do you offer service where you go through people's phones and be able to obtain that evidence for them?
We don't need, I mean, I can. I don't know if I'll have time. Hold on. Where's my, am I able to share the screen?
I believe so.
Okay. I want to show you guys something. If I can find it. Okay.
You tell me how and I will.
Okay. Yes, I get your screen. Okay. So, like, let's say you have an electronic device.
Mhm.
This is the device. This device does not connect to Wi-Fi. It is a cheap $80 camera system, and it was used for a video. But when you're looking in the specifications, there's about 16 specifications on this particular device. Here, I'm only talking about 5 of them. Okay. So I don't know if you guys can see that.
Yes, ma'am.
Let's spread that out a little bit more. Close this off. All right. So inside of these hidden features in these devices, you can see that it has infrared and night vision technology. And that's it's because it's a night vision camera system. So inside of that, it has infrared ultraviolet light technologies. So that means it also is capable of the electromagnetic spectrum. It has different wavelengths to it, and also built-in wireless communications. So although that device is not capable of connecting to the internet, they still have built-in wireless comms into that device.
Oh.
So it also collects the room temperature, and it has a built-in targeting acquisition station and homing devices. Basically, what that's used is for the real-time law enforcement. Law enforcement can access that device in real time for surveillance purposes. So they also have artificial intelligence, neural network systems in there built in, and that is for the pixels. When it says it has facial recognition systems, it will automate and focus on that person's face, and it will move the camera system automatically. That is part of the biosensors and the biometrics that are built into that device.
Wow.
So they're collecting that data when you're using that cheap $80 device to record. But also with that, with the weather forecasting, if we could look up there, there is actually a Doppler radar system, and it also connects to Korean and space program. It also connects to experimental communications. It could connect to submarine and nautical and any ocean monitoring systems. It has meteorology, satellite communications, so it could hook up to the satellites and capture that image in real time. And that has to deal with the high frequency, the transformers and the reducers, and the sensing range. Now, this has a long range infrared. So when we look at the different components, we would have to look at that range difference, what is considered long range, and we could identify the frequency. But here you can see it has built-in frequency switching, which means they can convert that frequency and change that frequency to match the communications that it's connecting to. Whether it's an artificial network system, a CNN network system, or it's machine learning, different types of devices, right?
Right. So that's
Here,
pretty much everybody's cell phones.
right, but this is a camcorder.
Right.
But every cell phone is different, every make, model. What's your camera like? What type of HD component does it have? Imaging. Is it what type of microphone? Sound quality. What type of sensors are built into it? Is it a 4G or 5G phone?
Right.
Or is it a 6G phone? So that's where talking about the different 5G, 6G technology systems makes it even different. Now here we could even see the luminance, right? The luminance signal has to deal with the infrared. And that is actually part of the thermal tomography and the radiation inside of the body system. The RGB components is optical nervous system. It could connect through the optical nerve. Quadrature amplitude modulation systems. That is what I prove kind of within my spectrums here. Now I can do a frequency identification. This is the quadrature amplitude modulation systems, the different spectrums that I picked up doing the audio analysis. As you can see here, there are small little circles, dots, that create a circle. That proves within inside the here is the frequency range. So we could identify the frequency range inside of that and match it. Where up here in the upper portion, that's going to be your satellite communications. Down here is going to be your drones. Then it goes into your aerial, your ground units. This is your underground mines right here. Anything below the base, and the low frequencies is your underground mines. So we could prove the different frequencies, or at least I can prove the different frequencies and identify and match what that is in. But I'm not sure how long we have to do all of this. So even getting evidence from me right now within the Connecticut lawsuit, that would probably have to be with something with Ryan's lawsuit more, because I might not, I have clients already for the Icator lawsuit. I won't have time to do evidence for Connecticut. Does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am.
Because it's already been approved inside the federal court system. So now we're on a time span and a time crunch. Right. So, but that's the quadrature amplitude modulation systems. And basically it's their vector scales. So the drones, they have a drone, a host, depending on what type of room, that goes to your neck, that goes to your heart, that goes to your body, and they assign people to these little spots or these little nodes.
Right.
And then each person can attack your body on that specific location of your body. And each node has different type of equipment, like radio communications or camera systems or the weapon system to attack you. They could have different virtualization stations because they pick and choose what type of equipment they want to use in order to formulate an attack, if that makes sense.
Yes, ma'am.
So each drone that is identified here, we could see a whole row. There's probably around 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 right here in this little section alone. So this person had 5 drones that was communicating all at one time. And so each drone could hold about 10 to 12 people, depending on the group size and depending on what type of drone it is. They do have a max amount. They can't there can't be a group of 30 people on one drone.
Right.
Because it would cause lagging issues, communication issues. The signal strength wouldn't be powerful enough because of all the power that's being drawn from individual usage. Usually, if they do it that way, it's usually set up by a specific group of people, and they made appointments.
Oh.
So
that's the reason why my perpetrators go silent every now and then, and all of a sudden I'll have like 20, 30 phones. Not 20, but it'd be close to 20 individuals hooked to my phone at one time. I got video of them just popping up to my phone and disconnecting and pairing to my phone. It's really insane, but every now and then they'll go really quiet. And I know every time they plan something, I can expect a really hard attack to where I'm going to be sick or down,
Right.
or, mine normally stays in groups of 4s and 6 and 8s, but sometimes it's lately it's been up to 12.
And that's what I do with the audio analysis. Like up here, you can see I have little statements, right? Mm-hmm. Within the audio analysis, they make specific statements using their radio comms and when they're transmitting back and forth. And all the highlighted dots, by the way, are the people communicating. So we could identify what part of the node that they belong to.
Can you tell how close they are as well?
That has to deal with the range. So like, let's say it's a satellite system, or okay, so satellites are up here. There's no satellite up here. But let's say this is an airplane. Airplanes have to fly at a specific altitude.
Mhm.
I would have to find information on that airplane, or you would have to use like a flight radar map in order to prove the type of airplane that is flying above your head and what route or path that it's taking. Yeah. So, like, for instance, let's put this down. Okay. So, like, let's say you're using flight radar. Let's zoom in. I'm in Florida.
Mhm.
All right. What's flying around me? My location right now.
Oh, I still see the same thing.
So I don't have any planes within my area. But let's look at this one right here, right? Depending if you register,
It's still on the same screen.
which one? What's on the same screen?
It's still on the same
Oh, okay, hold on. I thought it would be a little bit different. Okay. I guess it doesn't do the whole board thing. Okay. So this is Flight Radar, right?
Mhm.
This is an app through my website and that you guys could download onto your phone. So you want to basically go to your location, right? I don't know where you live, but these are all the airplanes within the United States right now. That's a lot of airplanes.
Oh,
Want to
wow.
talk about climate control? Here's your climate problem.
Wow.
So, like, let's say you're in Wyoming, right?
Mhm.
Right here. We'll find out what type of plane this is. We can tell that it belongs to Southwest. We can find the route that it's taking. It's going to Seattle. Perfect. This is a commercial airline. Chances are commercial airlines aren't the ones harassing you. It's going to be a different type of airplane, but it does give descriptions. If you actually pay for the application, I
Mhm.
believe it's like $10.99 a month or something like that. You can get tons of like 3D views. You can find out who owns the plane, where their hangar is at located. Um, you could follow them and create different routes. Um, Usually, when you're a targeted individual, um, airplanes go in circles and they create a pattern. It would be an airplane like this, mainly. It's not showing the route.
They're spending money to fly airplanes over you.
Yes. Okay. So it would have a route like this, except they would do that same route 150 times. This is probably the airport where it's supposed to take off and land. And then what it does, yes, they hire airplanes. The weapon systems are built into the airplanes within inside the belly of the plane. The perpetrators and the criminals will be transmitted through those little circles that I showed you. They will be linked to that weapon system. An airplane has to have connection to that targeted individual within a 2-mile range. Anything within 2-mile range, they will lose it. That is why the airplanes do circles kind of like this. You'll see them do more circles though. Usually they make about 5 to 10 laps and then they go on to the next location. And then they do another 10 laps. And then they go to the next location and they do another 10 laps. And that is because each spot or location, they hired that plane to take a route and to connect to attack and target a person. So using this type of evidence, you can find out if you follow them, right? This is the free version. I just have it on my app. Like you can create your own account with it and do what you want with it. So like you could watch 3 sessions, watch a video, get 3 sessions for free. It will allow you to look at different views. You could actually follow the plane back to the hangar, get their longitude and latitude, and know exactly where that hangar is located and who owns that hangar.
Nice.
But unfortunately, you have to follow that plane for like 4 or 5 hours. But it's an app that you could use and just put off to the side until they land, if that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah. So there's different forms of evidence that you could use, different ways to track and trace them. It all just depends on what your capabilities are. Some victims don't have computer systems, some do. Some only use your cell phone, some don't. Some have no electronics at all. And it makes it very difficult. But that's where I come in, and that's where, but if you're not going to testify, right now for that lawsuit, I cannot waste my time to go over the evidence with you. Does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am. So, if they are going to testify, they just sent it to your email address. Do they have to call and verify that you got it, or will you contact them back?
I usually email them and say, hey, I got your, whenever I'm working with any of my clients or any of the victims, I always email them back and say, yes, I got your files. I put them in a folder for you. Thank you for this. I'm reviewing it right now. I'm going to send it and attach you to John Flynn, right?
Right.
So you can move forward. If you're just testifying, there's no other work that we need to do. Your name will be added as a plaintiff onto the lawsuit, and your written testimony is already taken and accepted. There's nothing else that you need to do. But if you want to stand up in court and testify, show your evidence, tell your story, that is where we continue the conversation and we move forward with that. John was telling me last night that he's losing some of his witnesses. They backed out. And that is because they're being harassed by the major companies and the corporations.
Right.
So,
is there a way to file charges on them if they start tampering with all the witnesses?
Well, I mean, you can't, if the victim is too scared to testify, there's nothing we can do about that. You know, you got to take care of your safety first.
Right.
You got to sit down and realize and ask yourself, are you going to be intimidated by these guys, or are you brave enough to stand up and move forward?
Anybody else has any questions that I might have, that the TI community might have to ask?
I have a question. How much would it be just to submit an affidavit?
Nothing. You just have to get it notarized.
Oh, okay. And another thing, like I get like right now, well, it's not severe right now. I get buzzing all through my body. My whole body buzzes like a vibration buzzing underneath my skin, and shocks to the back of my head right in here, zapping sensation. When I close my eyes, it intensifies. Do you know anything uh, that might be causing that?
Can I see the back of your head? Where is it?
It goes right, it starts right in here, and it's right in here centralized.
Okay. So that is part of your brain stem, which is actually the beginning of your spine.
And they went in my spine twice when I was in the hospital 45 days last year in Colorado. They were in it 30 minutes at a time. One time they said they had to put fluid in for a scan. One time they said they had to take fluid out to see if I had infection in my spine.
What type of wounds, physical wounds on your body are you having?
That's what I'm saying. I don't get none. I don't get. Every now and then I'll get a physical.
Do you get any small bug bites?
Yeah, I
or
get small
freckles?
stuff like that. My head heats up really hot. My ears will be beak red, and I have
Okay,
I
that's
keep 2
laser
towels.
technology. You need some form of retroreflector, or what I've been telling people to buy is a glass beaded weighted blanket. Right now, that is the only thing that protects the body that I can think of that is strong enough to bounce off the lasers.
All right.
Glass beaded weighted blanket. I think it's $15 off of Amazon.
Yeah, I keep
laser technology will go through any form of rubber. They'll burn holes in aluminum. They'll any link stat that a person uses. If you have voice to skull technology, dopamine and serotonin will decrease that. Also, the proper settings inside of your router. If you hardwire everything inside of your router, connecting all of your electronic devices to that router, then you're going to be 10 times safer. If you are using wireless communications, disable your 5G inside of your router and keep it at a 2.4 or 4G. You can block all unknown IP addresses.
Yeah, I've got my 5.4 gigahertz blocked as well. I only got, yeah.
Okay, so if you block, this is where the IP addresses come in using that big IP data tool. Because if you block all unknown IP addresses and you're still getting IP addresses into your system, you know that those are your hackers and your perpetrators entering into your network. Usually, though, on average, they don't access your router. They sit in between the LAN and the WAN, and they intercept your messages. They're not meant to tamper with your phones. They can tamper with your phones, but they have to pay for that component. The government has your bad guys pay for everything, by the way. If they want to eavesdrop on your phone conversations, they're going to pay for your phone. If they want to eavesdrop on your computer system, they're going to pay for your computer. So each one, unless you're like me and have like only law enforcement officers on your case, then it's done specific different.
Yeah. Videos, like I have a couple videos of actual laser coming out of the sky hitting the garage. Not a spider web. I know spider webs go. This comes from the sky, beams up and down the garage at 4 a.m. one morning, and I was hit. My head was heated up like it was boiling all day after that. I don't know if that was the hit or I got hit or it was just to throw me off. But those videos
would be great evidence. And depending on the color spectrum of that night vision technology, you can determine what frequencies, because each laser device is based off of the color spectrum. So you have red lasers, blue, green, yellow, orange, purple, right? And each one can use a different frequency or transmit on a different frequency, which that would go with the spectrum analysis and the frequency sets that I identify to match those types of weapon systems that are being used and what I collect audibly. So that could be used collectively. Your video would be excellent evidence to use.
All right. Well, I will probably, because Holly gets physical burns, and she's got plenty of pictures of them, so she'll probably be the one submitting that affidavit, because they do me internally, and you know what I'm talking about? They hit me internally.
Well, we could still prove that internal, because even with my audio analysis and what I do with the audio analysis, I gather information on the WBANs or the personal area network systems. I could find out what portions of the body that they're connecting to, whether it's your C1 or H grid system. H stands for your heart, or an F1, which is your foot one. They map out your body and they sell different areas of your body to different people. And with those connections in the grids, we can determine that. And a lot of times your criminals, remember, these are evil people. They're saying, I just hit her breast. Look at those titties bounce. I love zapping her vagina. Rape that bitch. They're making those comments in there. And those prove the attacks internally on your body and externally on your body as well. But if I haven't done an analysis for you, I'm not sure with this Connecticut lawsuit, like I said, if I'll have time to do it. I might have time to do it for the CIS one.
Yeah, okay. Well, Holly's got plenty
right now I'm working on the Icator lawsuit. I'm working on the Connecticut one. And then I'm talking with Maria and Ryan to see how I could help with their lawsuit. So yeah, the only real one that I'm involved with is like the Icator one. I might sign up as a victim in the Connecticut one, but he wants to use me as an expert witness, which means I can only be an expert witness. I can't provide my evidence, and I can't go in. I don't know. I'm kind of up in the airs in that, because sometimes you have to take care of yourself too.
Yes, ma'am. I got a question for you. You mentioned an Ecatal. If people don't make it to the Connecticut, is the Ecatal open to targeted individuals as well? And
yes,
is that going to be just in the United States, or is that open to the world internationally?
The Icator lawsuit is open to the world. It's open on a global. It is starting out in Belgium, and they either accept the lawsuit with the Belgium residents, or it gets denied, and then we open it up, and you guys would all be entered in as witnesses for the lawsuit, and we can subpoena evidence as we go.
Okay.
So each person would get up, they would write their testimony, they would provide their evidence, and then me as the expert witness, I work with the lawyer and I say, hey, we need a subpoena evidence from here, 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 and here. This is the network. This is how we're going to explain this. This is how we're going to do this. And then we go into the court case, and then we'll be able to subpoena the evidence as we go with throughout the injection process and stuff like that. So,
now I got another question for you. Ryan has got the class action lawsuit with the lawyers. What about combining the class actions together and joining forces on that. I know Ryan said he would help out with yours as well, but is Icatal civil as well, or do you have lawyers?
No, Icator is civil and criminal.
Okay. Is it lawyers handling it, or is it
Yes.
individuals? Okay.
Icator has lawyers handling it already.
Okay. And what about combining them all together and combining the lawyers? Is that a possibility?
Not, this has to go through international criminal court system.
Mhm.
I would talk about them first. We would have to set up an appointment and talk to Melanie about that. I know she's already working with Anna Toledo from Targeted Justice.
Okay. Now, do they submit the information to you as well through your email for that one?
I am providing most of the evidence for the victims and the claims. That's where all the thermal tomography reports come into play, all the audio analysis come into play, the frequency sets come into play, the identifications, the spectrums are submitted on my behalf. Everything is forensically validated already, which means it can be proven step-by-step processing. Yeah. That would just be determined. You're still responsible of submitting it yourself to the lawyers, because me as a company, I cannot technically give out client information. I have OSHA and HIPAA laws that I have to follow, right? Or
Right.
I could be sued for releasing that information
I
out.
wouldn't want that information anyhow. That for my perpetrators out there.
But unfortunately, that's the work that I do. And a lot of people in the community are mad because I don't give out that information. Well, I can't.
You shouldn't anyhow.
Right. You can. If I write a report for you, you have free reign to do whatever you want with that report. You could release it. You could talk about it. You could show doctors. You could go to police officers. You could file claims. You could do whatever you want with that report. But I can't, because it's not my report. It's for you.
Right.
So you're responsible for your evidence, and I'm responsible for validating that evidence and proving it inside a court system. I did the work, and you take the reins kind of control on that situation. Yeah.
Can I ask a question? Hi, sorry, got the link a little late. So forgive me if this was already answered, but as it relates to evidence, I was surrounded by the police randomly at the gas station a lot. Like my apartment was wired, and then they hacked my computers. I know that the police for sure are involved, but I was evicted and I didn't know much about the TI program when all of this was going on. So as far as evidence, some of the things that people are saying, I don't have that type of evidence. So how would I be able to kind of build a case? I have a severe neck injury that happened randomly, and I have some heart issues. But other than that, I don't have apps and stuff that show any type of
Do you have any
frequencies or anything.
x-rays to prove?
Yeah, I have
injuries?
I got a whole bunch. I had to get a lot of different MRIs and stuff done.
And
that
was
just
that
shows
from the abuse of the officers?
That's the thing. This has been going on so long. I don't know where it started and where it ends. The injury happened pretty out of the blue. I just woke up and excruciating pain. And then a few months later, I had an altercation with the police, and it felt like he was intentionally trying to break my neck. And it's just gotten worse since then. I've been, set up pretty bad to look a certain way. I'm a licensed clinician, and they've completely ruined my life. I have a daughter that's been impacted by all of this, but I don't really know, what exactly I don't know what type of evidence would hold in court.
Well, the x-rays would definitely hold up in court, the body images, the bruises, any photos of bruises on your body. You want to measure your body out. Any physical wounds that you find, you want to make sure that you take pictures of, and you also measure them out.
I don't have any physical wounds. The only wound that I had was when they took me to the hospital and forced me to take Haldol, and then the hospital took the picture of that, and I never received it. But as far as physical bruises and stuff, I don't have that. I just have the proof that I went to the hospital.
Now, usually weapon systems will have different spots and locations. And what I mean by measuring out, you need some form of measuring tape. With the x-rays, it will show the physical damage inside your bones and muscles mainly, not your nerves. But if you take the photos, like for instance, this one right here, that's a solar weapon. These are laser weapons that
I have
are,
those.
yeah. So these are laser and solar weapons. As you could see, they map out individually from 1 inch to 1.5 inch to 1 inch. This is 1/2 inch. This is 1/4 inch. This is 4 inches back and forth with each other.
Understood. But if I don't have physical bruises like that, then does that mean I have no evidence, no case?
No, not necessarily. You just have to find evidence in other locations. Like I showed the aerial plane earlier. You could use flight radar. It's an app.
Morticia, this is recorded and it will be
Yeah,
posted.
we would need an audio analysis, or at least what I do and offer. An audio analysis would probably be good enough for to prove the weapon systems and things that are being on you. You can still write a written affidavit and talk about your story and what's happening and occurring to you. Just make sure you mark down. But I wouldn't suggest testifying. Okay. But I would at least suggest writing an affidavit about your experiences, the burning sensations, what type of pain you're experiencing, where that pain is, where your injuries are on your body, and how you think that they're being conducted, whether it's through 5G technology, directed energy weapon, or so forth. I would also talk about the stalking.
Yeah, that's been the
portion
main
and the harassment
thing.
portion.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I would talk about the harassment portion and the stalking portion.
Okay. Yeah, because unfortunately I don't live in that place anymore. So the experience has been different. But I don't know. Thank you.
Yeah. So like pictures and images like that I showed you, that's my body. So I don't mind showing those because I'm giving permission. I'm not sharing other people's bodies. But so a lot of the physical wounds, it's great to measure those physical wounds out and prove, because freckles only go in clusters. Freckles is ultraviolet light, infrared. Infrared is laser. So that's laser technologies, and we could prove that on your body.
I've ended up with a lot of new freckles.
Yeah. So, and that's from the lasers. Because the freckle is actually healing point, and you can actually get rid of that freckle on your body. It's removable. You can use, oh, I have it written down. It's a remedy.
Hydrogen peroxide is what I use.
But I think it's like milk and salt. Oh, hold on. I got it. Baking soda, Epsom salt, and a cup of borax. And you could rub it on the freckle, and the freckle will disappear. And that's because that freckle is actually part of nanotechnology and was removed from your skin. And it removes the freckle. So that's another way that you can extract it. Another way for nanotechnology, and you might want to tell Ryan this, Maria.
Yes, ma'am.
As one of the clients that I've been helping just told me about this. She's been putting, every time she gets attacked in a body, a specific part of her body, she puts castor oil directly on that wound or that spot, and the pain stops instantly, and out comes some nanoparticle.
Now, what do you suggest? What does it normally look like, and can you obtain that into a sealed container?
Yes, yes. It's usually small and white, and about it looks like a snowflake.
Yeah, that's kind of how he described it. Or what he's been capturing is like a silicone based substance, kind of like a jelly.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah.
And is that a big particle that they could see with the naked eye, or they still need a microscope to see that?
No, it's a bigger particle, and you can see it on a person's finger when they wipe it with the castor oil. She sent me videos of it. I could send that to Ryan when we talk, where we could go over that and see if it matches any of that information for his lawsuit.
Okay. So it's castor oil and on the part of the body, and then you could capture it, pulls it off.
It pulls it off, yeah.
That's good information to share with the TI community. And then they can keep it into a Ziploc bag or a vial.
You would want to keep it in a glass vial and make sure that glass vial is clean.
Okay. That's awesome. This is a lot of great information to share with the TI community. And so it looks like a snowflake, and then they could keep it in there and it would obtain that for a good long period. Now, do you have ways of testing exactly what that is, or you're just going that it will definitely all look like a snowflake?
No, I don't have means to test it. I'm not a medical facility at all. I mean, my degree is digital forensic investigations. That's what my degree is. So like when it comes to nanoparticles and things like that, there's no way that I can test it. I don't have the means for that. It would have to be outsourced and have it tested. But the physical portion of it and taking videos of portions of it can prove that it still is coming outside of your body. And you want to make sure that you do videotape it, because that shows evidence that it did come from your body, and it also will match part of the DNA that was extracted from it.
I think that's what he's proving right now is the DNA extraction and the nanoparticulate matter. Now, can we mail this evidence, or we still have to hold on to it?
You hold on to the evidence for now until I send forward. Once the affidavits are written, then we could go over the evidence, the next step for you. But I don't want to collect everybody's evidence and then not have you testify. Once again, that would be a lot of waste of time on my part, and especially when I'm still trying to work on these other lawsuits and cases as well. So hold on to your evidence, and once we're ready for it, Ryan, John and I will go over the next steps with you. But we need that affidavit first to make sure that you're entered into the case. Does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am.
We can't take your evidence until you're entered into the case, and we can't enter you into the case until we get you an affidavit.
Yes, ma'am. And you, once again, to remind everybody, this is you have less than 30 days for this.
Yes.
And the fees is only travel expenses. If you want to attain Amy's services for any additional evidence for future down, it might not be for the Connecticut case alone, but it's a minimum of $75 an hour.
Or the thermal tomography.
Right.
Yeah.
And then if you don't make this, she does have an international one as well for the Iqatal. And you want a minimum of 200 victims, and it's a civil case where you're representing yourself.
Yes, this is for the Connecticut, not the Icator one. Icator does have a lawyer, and it is internationally based, and we're taking victims from all over the globe. We have victims from Japan, Australia. Craig LaForest is involved with that one. We have victims from all over the United States, Argentina, Germany, Belgium, Ireland, the United Kingdom. We have Scotland. We have France. So there's multiple victims in multiple locations and stuff like that. And that I will be entering as a company and submitting all my evidence from my company collectively to support all the victims inside of the Belgian lawsuit. And the people inside the US and other countries are still eligible to use that evidence inside of their own country and their own states.
This so for the people that have registered with Ryan, it's not going to affect their case. It'll just help out. So they can be in multiple cases right now.
Right. And I know Targeted Justice has one too. If you're interested in learning, if you're on the terrorist watch list, you can't become a plaintiff. I believe they have 18 plaintiffs already. They're not adding plaintiffs into it, but you can sign up to see the terrorist watch list aspect of it. And that's where you contact them and give them your information. They got that all set up. So that's Targeted.
Hey, Amy,
yes.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Hi, good morning. Are you guys filing a claim or complaint?
It's a civil.
I understand it's civil. Is it a civil complaint or a civil claim?
It's a civil claim.
It is a claim.
Yes.
Okay. And so a couple questions I have regarding, is there going to be one particular person? Is it this guy, John, I think you said, going to be speaking for everyone?
No.
Okay. So are they filing? You're
if
saying that
you are joining in as a plaintiff and wanting to testify, you would be added as a plaintiff.
You have to show up in person. You can't do it over the phone.
Yeah, I understand all that. What I'm asking is, when you go pro se, you're basically stating that you're representing yourself.
Right.
Okay. In a class action, usually one or two lawyers or whoever is representing the group. So my question is, who's representing the group as a class action?
Oh, that would be John. John is doing all of that, and he's been filing all the motions and everything.
Okay, so
Yeah.
again, I'm just a little confused on some of the stuff you had said, and you may not know some of these questions, but so when you file a claim in civil court, you're basically going under the common law.
Right.
Okay.
Well, this
So-
is federal law because it's
No, it's
entered into the federal court case.
It's a federal court case, but it's under common law, meaning the Constitution trumps federal law.
Well, it would be underneath. You could state your statutes. Is that what you're referring to? The statutes?
Okay, hold on. There are no statutes in common law. Okay, there's no code. There's none of that stuff in common law. As a matter of fact, they don't even use the words in Latin like pro se and affidavit and stuff like that. So I'm a little confused, meaning you guys, what I'm hearing is you're going into court, filing a claim, a class action, which is a group of people. John's going to basically represent the claim for the group. But at the same time, everyone's filing affidavits and going pro se. Well, you're flipping the court back into their jurisdiction. And so I'm a little confused as to what are the tactics here. I'm just confused. So, like I said, when you go in as pro se or filing affidavits, you're basically jumping into their jurisdiction. You're speaking Latin. You're doing their legalese versus
Right.
a common law claim, which is basically just a man or woman who's been trespassed upon, by their government or whoever. And so
This is so we could pass laws, create a federal
Yes,
law
yes.
on the technology, and gain protection in data collection.
okay, so this isn't an actual suit for damages. This is actually trying to create
Right.
legislation
Case law.
for
Right.
Congress.
Right.
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, now you're making a little more sense. Okay. Yeah, I was under the impression this was an actual class action for damages and that there would be.
No, not damage.
Redress.
We are not doing anything criminal. We're filing the defendants like Qualcomm, AT&T, Motorola. That is to prove that their network systems are doing bodily harm to us and that they're using that for illegal surveillance purposes, which is a violation of our rights, and that we need laws in order to protect ourselves from companies and corporations taking that data and using us as human experiments and guinea pigs, basically.
So there's
Right.
no
And so the difference is that
Right.
For me, now understanding what you're going after, it makes more sense. With targeted justice, they were actually looking for redress. They were looking for compensation for something,
Right.
that they
We're
had
not
been
looking
harmed.
for compensation at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
But this
Yeah.
is just to support legislation to get into Congress, so they'll pass a bill that says, hey, you companies cannot use this technology to surveil American citizens.
Right. Right.
Well,
And
worldwide.
that's why we have to do it pro se, is because each person has individual evidence.
Right,
So,
but all pro se,
Right.
it's pro se is, to me, in a claim should never even be mentioned. Just because once you start speaking Latin, they can write everything in Latin. But when you're in common law, you can stick to just basic words and they can't pull legalese in on you, like the word suffer, in Latin means to allow someone to harm you. And so if a cop ever says, or a lawyer, did you suffer at the hands of that officer? And you say, yeah, you're going to lose the case, because in their language and their legalese, that means to allow someone to harm you. And so when I read targeted justice paperwork right there, when he talks about we, the victims, have been suffering from these DEW weapons, I knew immediately it was going to get thrown out. And so I'm just making sure that we're not falling into that same situation. So going in as a claim under the common law, trespass or harm has been caused by these technologies, and we want to pass a bill, I think you're good. I don't know about the pro se and all that affidavit when it comes to just passing law, but I'm curious to see how it goes for sure.
Yeah. I would have to talk to John on more of that. Like I said, I'm just trying to help collect the affidavits for now.
No, I
So
appreciate it. It makes sense. It
yeah,
totally
yeah.
makes sense.
But and I'll probably get John, but we only have a month. So like, let's say I get John, but we set up an appointment for 2 weeks now. We lost 2 weeks and we're already losing people to write these affidavits. If that makes
Right.
sense.
Is there a quick question? Is there a, I'm sure this is a dumb question, but I got to ask it. Is there something that we can post that people can just download and maybe fill out online and, you know, digitally send it back? Is there something like that set up?
I have a template. I do not have a pre-made, just sign date. This is what's happening to me
Well,
because
what if we help to create something like that? It seems like that would be so much simpler for a lot, like a petition. You know how you can just click on it and you sign the petition type thing through Facebook or whatever. If we could create an affidavit like that,
then
I
that
mean,
would
I'm not
be,
trying to put salt in the game.
then
I'm just
how
asking, would
is
this
that
help?
person, the problem is with that, how is that person to prove that evidence that is stated inside of that template?
Well, the
And how are
affidavit,
they going to be able to testify and verify that information for that template? So
so the affidavit is only asking the judge to recognize you in court, really. That's an
right,
affidavit.
it's a
Evidence
written
is evidence. An
testimony.
affidavit, you're
It's a
just,
written testimony of your personal experiences. So I can talk about zapping and burning sensations all day long, but then I'm going to have Jane Doe come in as a victim and say, no, mine is more of an itching experience. I itch all over my body.
right. So I guess what I was saying is not something that's pre-filled out, but something that they could actually type online and submit, sign and submit, kind of like DocuSign.
No, I get what you're saying, but I do not have time to create that.
No, you have a
And
team of people here willing to help support Amy. I'm not asking you to do anything. I'm asking, would something like this be beneficial? And we could take the time to create, it's only, I don't know what kind of document it would be, but I'm sure one of my kids could put it together. So what I'm asking is if we could create a template, if you could maybe send us your template and we could build off of that to make it easier for people to do online. Like for myself, I don't have a printer. So I'd have to go down to Staples and print it out, sign it, go through that whole thing. I'm just trying to create ease because of
Really,
problems.
I'm sorry, let me kind of address that. What she's stating is that we kind of have 2 weeks, and what you can do is email her your written affidavit, and that is going to be accepted in the, she's going to submit that into the courts. Building a website or a template for people to fill out, kind of like what Ryan has done, is going to take a little bit of time and effort. But as long as everybody submits their own, instead of doing a video testimony, writing a written testimony and emailing it directly to her, and that's what she's going to submit in court.
Right. And you guys are looking for 200 people. Is that it? Is that what you said?
we would like 1,000. We could
No,
have up to 1,000.
okay. So, Maria, I believe there's more than 200 people just in TI Freedom Fighters. So
Yeah, yes, sir. I didn't know. Well, not all of them are in the United States, so I mean that's where it comes to us getting out there and sharing it on the different.
well, that's where we're
groups
going to
and
be
different,
passing the
different
legislation. We're
platforms.
actually passing legislation overseas. So
Right.
really, we need people from the United States for passing laws.
Right. And that's where we come in on sharing this information. That's the reason why this one's being recorded, to kind of help get the information out there. And she does have a federal one as well. And like I said, I was on the phone with her and Ryan, and they both agreed to work together and help push this along to get this going. I think Ryan is, he's kind of going after the compensation as well, but he doesn't really care about the compensation. It's just ending this program. So I mean, it's two two different companies working on the same aspect on trying to put a stop to this program and get laws passed against it. So that's a wonderful thing.
Question, sorry. When it comes to the AT&T being a defendant, what are some of the evidence that people are bringing for that surveillance that doesn't involve like burning, zapping, or itching? Like is that the majority of what people are bringing, or are people bringing evidence about the surveillance aspect of it more? I'm just trying to get a better understanding of the type of evidence you guys are.
I don't know. I haven't reviewed any of the evidence yet.
Oh, okay.
But John contacted me about 2 weeks ago,
Okay.
or last Thursday, and said, I need your help. I got accepted into the federal court system, and we need this. And I just jumped on board and have been trying to help him. So
Got it.
I haven't had a really chance to go over his 50 people that he already has as a defendant list and review their evidence yet.
Okay.
As for personal evidence, like I said, I went over the hidden features earlier. You can get the specifications of your electronic devices, and you could show the different neural network components, the HCI components, on my website here. Let me pull that up really quick.
Okay, because they sent a technician out to change the wiring in my apartment. The person that lived there before didn't have any issues with AT&T. When I got there, they were messing with my wires for at least 3 weeks. They sent a technician out, and he did something and was like, "Don't tell them that I came. They're gonna send somebody else. Just don't tell them about me." I thought that was weird. Then they sent somebody else out. Then they took an image from my iPhone and transferred it over to my work computer as a form of blackmail. So, this is my evidence, but I don't know.
That would be great evidence to use inside of it if you had that evidence to have. I do have network examples here. So like, let's say, can you all see this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Clearly.
we all know that they spy on us through our television screens, right?
Mm-hmm.
And most of us have accounts to Netflix,
Mm-hmm.
right? So basically, this describes the Netflix service and how their network is set up. All right. So they have connections to Amazon. Amazon is where their data is being stored for the Netflix. Basically, they could connect through the PAL or NTSC, which NTSC is American, PAL is usually international. Okay. So basically, they can connect using a transmission protocol or going through the user protocol, and your file transfers. And they also have mailing components, which that would be like your account information and stuff like that. They use Linux and Windows operating system. Windows is your Microsoft, right? So when they develop that application, they're opening it up as an open source currently right now. It's currently being developed. So they're doing a lot of beta testing with Netflix and their operating system, but mainly it is run off of Microsoft right now. So that means Netflix has Windows components, and that would be the different type of command lines that they would be using inside of there, right? A lot of them can connect through the IP packets. Any information, when you are picking and scrolling through a video, it has that video stored in it, and you have to download that video in order for it to stream on your screen, right? So they connect to your account information and they add additional users onto your IP address within the company. So Amazon and Netflix control the IP protocols that are being back and forth. I have links and stuff down here, different types of resources that you could use and read up on it. But this you can use as an example of how they are spying on you through your television screen.
How do we get that information for those that don't have that? Is there a link that they could obtain this information for the viewers out there?
Well, the link is on my website. No, there's not a specific link because this is basically what is called network design.
Right.
And you need to prove the connections of that network. So, for instance, you can Google through Google Images, right? Type in all the different apps that you've downloaded on your TV. Do you have accounts with Disney? Do you have accounts with HBO? Do you have accounts with Hulu? Do you have account with Netflix? And then basically you would type in that Google or your browser, Disney network diagram. And that network diagram will pop up and you could find the companies and corporations and the different types of protocols.
And you're using that as evidence as well?
Yes, yes, yes.
So any applications on our phones, are you using that as the companies as evidence? Like say, you got, say like on my phone, I got AirGuard, I got Facebook, I got Zoom. Are you going after those companies as well? Like with Facebook and stuff like that? Because I know a lot of them are, Google and stuff.
I told Flynn out of my evidence that I have personally that Zigbee needs to be added, General Electric, Honeywell, and Facebook need to be added. So I have to work with him now, go over the evidence and prove to John why I need those companies added into the lawsuit.
And just about anybody that has that on their phones,
Right.
they won't need to submit any evidence. They just need to verify they have it on their phone.
And then
and on their
let me
TV.
show you something like, okay, what type of cell phone do you have?
I have an iPhone 12 Pro. And I also have documentation where I wrote Verizon, I wrote Apple over a 3-month period, daily. With phones hooking up, sending them evidence of other devices pairing to my phone without my consent, pairing to my Bluetooth, and thank God for another investigator that told me to download AirGuard because they've been doing it since 2016 and haven't been able to prove it. I also went into my Google securities and found where they were tracking my location through Google Find My Phone and the Find My Phone device, is disconnected on my phone, but they were still tracking it. It also showed AirTags and tiles and AirPods. It even showed right and left speaker. I also got video clippings where they were hooking up to my truck, and I disconnected the wires. I disconnected, and it was still showing that my phone was connected to the truck, where they were trying to illegally listen into my conversations. And
Okay. So here, right here, what I did was in your Google bar, I typed in iPhone 12 Pro technical specifications. And I just grabbed the first article. But me as an investigator, I would probably go over 10 to 12 articles to verify it. Does that make sense?
yes, ma'am.
But for you guys, going through 1 to 3 for verification purposes, usually going to iPhone directly on their website would be a better source or resource to use, right?
All right.
Okay, so here we learn everything about your cell phone. Here you have up to 512 gigabytes. That is actually very high storage. Most of the average phones only have 64. So that means you're capable of storing a lot more videos and a lot more evidence on other people's phones than some others, right? It talks about the width, the height, the size. That's your phone. That's pretty much what it looks like, height, width, size, right? Here, the display. Now, if you Google this, like copy, sorry, let's.
What happens here?
I can't see my tabs. I don't want to
The ad. The plus. Mhm.
Right, here we go. I'll move that for. Okay, there we go. So, like, if we Google that, we could find out what that tab is and what that specifically does. You could do specific things onto it. Okay. And it kind of depends on the browser that you're using. Okay. And when I'm talking about browsers, you can use other browsers like Tor, Brave, Opera, Firefox. I use Pale Moon a lot. Those are different things that you could use, different types of browsers that are good to do different research on. Let's see. It finds out that we have OLD technology, that is organic light emitting diodes, right? The organic light would help with the laser technology and the LED components, which is actually a form of radiation, and it gets absorbed into our skin. That's already been proven medically. We could pull up documents from NIH, which NIH is one of the users or one of the defendants as well. And we could prove that their articles state that LED gets absorbed into our body system and produces radiation, luminescence inside of our body. They need luminescence in order to create an attack. Let's see what other ones. Okay, so this is unexpected behavior right here, where it has burn in and image persistence. Burn in means, let's say you have your phone and the display doesn't go off. Sometimes that image can get burned onto the screen and it stays in the background and it destroys the LED components on your cell phone device. So that manipulates the different type of screen on your phone. That could damage the screen on your phone. So the LED components damage your phone, which we can prove then that the LED components with the emitting light can cause damage on your personal body. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So going through small little key factors and finding articles to back up your statements like this within your cellular device, you can back up your claim of them using a cell phone and an attack on your body system. Okay. Now here it talks about the brightness, automatic brightness. Those are usually built in. That's for safety purposes. That could also deal with the retina and the burn-in persistence right here. So let's go over something else. Fingerprint resistance coating. Okay, that right there, that's just for your screen, so you don't scratch your screen up when you're touching it. So they put a resistant coating. But if you want to prove like maybe nanotechnology or maybe something, maybe it has a chemical composition inside of that device that might attack your body. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So you would have to read through it, but normally it's just a layer, a protective layer, so you don't scratch the screen up and damage the touchscreen capabilities. That usually has to deal with your fingerprint, which your fingerprint is biometrics. And biometrics also goes into artificial intelligence and neural network components as well. Okay. Let's see. Your camera system. Let's see if I could find. It has night mode capabilities and LiDAR scanning. Remember when I was talking about the hidden features inside of that camera system? LiDAR, homing devices, right?
All right.
Those you would then have to copy, paste, Google, and I'm just showing you how to do this. I mean, I know what LiDAR is, but it shows what LiDAR is, and let's go just Wikipedia. Don't use Wikipedia, by the way, ever. I do sometimes, but that's only on rare occasions, and if I can't find anything.
Right.
Nothing. But it's a light detection and rating that can be used for tracking, surveillance purposing, targeting. That has to deal with proximity sensors built into your phone and operating system. Your proximity sensor tells you how far of a distance you are away. So it could tell the internal reading of inside of your ear. And if you have your phone and the distance from that ear canal to that phone on that table, whether it's 50, usually that's only a 15 to 20 foot range. A proximity sensor has, but with the new neural networks and the mesh networks and the 5G and 6G capabilities, that could be over 500 to 200 feet distance.
Wow.
Yeah. So LiDAR also has to deal with laser scanning. That's your QR codes. That's your laser. You have built-in components, laser components inside of your cell phone. Oh, sorry. Can't talk. And those laser components built into your cell phone in relation to the distance of your network. Let's go find your network here. Okay, video recording, TruePath, facial ID. You have True Depth Camera facial recognition systems. That's your programming. Let's find what type of networks your cell phone has, okay? Your 5G technology, you have the light bands, you have GSM and edge computing components in there. This is average on there. Let's see, depending on your model, I don't know what model you have.
12 Pro.
Okay, so yeah, but is it like an A2342? But anyways, all models, we'll just use that one. You have 5G and sub 6G components. Sub meaning lower frequencies, subsonic, subacoustic frequencies that are built in there. You have LTE, that's your Bluetooth capabilities right here. 6G has built in 2.4 and 5G and 4G technologies all built in to that device all at one time. So it's not just running off of 6, it's running off of every single type of network. NFC is near field communications. Near field communications are usually your QR codes, your sensors. That has to deal with RFID chips and remote access to them. And they can communicate with the different laser type of components that are built into your phone too, right? So let's see, you have, what else? Express cards, power users. And important, not really important, not something you majorly need to focus on. Here, okay, the different type of this is one that I've never heard of. I don't even know what that type of GPS is. So let's look that up. There we go. So it's called the Quasi-Zenith Satellite Systems. It's a 4-satellite regional satellite navigation system. And it has built in usually with the Japanese government. Okay, so it's Japanese, geostationary, elliptical, here they're talking about PVTC signals and solar panels. So that would probably be laser technology and solar technology systems. Sub-meter augmentation, that would be where your 6 sub comes into play. Let's see what else we could focus on. So you would want to do this with all of your specifications. Look into Surrey, right? Who owns Surrey? What is Surrey? You would want to talk about that type of network components on your cellular device. If it ever bleeps out on you, that could prove hacking too. That's your voice recognition systems as well, HCI components, speech to text, synthetic telepathy, speech telepathy, voice to skull technology, that could all be inserted into the Surrey components of your cell phone. Let's see, power battery, not really. You would want to probably look into your microphone, your speakers, and your lighting connectors within the buttons and the connectors. Not really, but you would want to look into your power adapters in the computer system. But we know it's a Windows operating, well, no, it's not Windows, sorry. But you would want to look into your computer system on that. Android is more Microsoft. Here you have different sensors built in, LiDAR scanner, face OID. Here's your proximity sensor. That's what they use in order to formulate an attack with the laser. Ambient light, that is kind of like your motion. It detects the lights inside of the room. That has to deal with your LiDAR and proximity as well. I would look into your accelerometer as well. Your gyro, that's how you flip your phone. But gyro also has to deal with GPS positioning as well. So when you go over all your electronic devices, you want to do this specifically for all of them, like your cell phone, your iPad, your television, your make and model of your television. What type of smart device is it? What are those components, right? I don't have a brand. Let's use LG, right? Smart LG, whatever. Let's look up, okay. All right, well, apparently that doesn't work. I have to look up a make and model. Okay. And then just type in specifications. We'll do that. I need a specific, not just. Usually, if you have a make and model number, you could enter that in. But you could use that with all of your network devices, all your electronics, and you could find out and how they're attacking your body system using those type of networks. And that's kind of what you want to focus on for this type of for at least the Connecticut lawsuit. But it's also ways to prove the attacks on your body with all the other cases as well. I mean, this is part of the investigation process that I usually do for all the victims. And with the information I find within the audio analysis, I can match those components of your cell phone of the attacks to prove that the attack is coming from your cell phone, if that makes sense.
Right.
So everything I do on a forensic basis, and that's what I kind of just showed you guys of what you need to do in order to prove the different type of network connections on those electronic devices. Does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am. So we just got to, look them all up, print them out, or copy and paste pretty much of the devices we have as well.
Yes.
Okay, that's awesome. That's actually really good to know.
Yeah.
Anybody else has any questions that haven't been addressed that you might think that we might need to help the TI community? I guess not. I appreciate you for your time, Amy, and sharing this information. We're going to get this out there today. And hopefully the TI community can unite into all these different lawsuits and help put a stop to this program and restoring our civil rights and our free will. Unfortunately, we got a lot of videos of, HARP and DARPA doing all their illegal experimentation that none of us ever consented to. And it actually affects the whole community because clearly every single one of us got these devices in our hands and emitting all this. But I really do appreciate your time. You do have Ryan's number, and I hopefully
Yes.
Both of you guys will be beneficial to each other, and we will get this out there and hopefully as fast as we can.
Yeah, and if we could use Ryan, if he's interested in joining in on this lawsuit, I'll get Ryan and Flynn together so they could talk or see, but we need to at least go over what he's doing so we know how to add it in or fix it and use it as the evidence.
It sounds like you guys are going on after the very similar things. Like I said, he's still obtaining the victims in his case and proving every, gathering evidence for all of our symptomologies. Most of his is going after the symptomologies and proving the technology does exist so that, for the people that don't have access to proving what is going, what is happening to him. He's proving it with the technology, pulling up the technology and stuff like that, and proving that it does exist. So when they file their complaints, there is documentation of it. Yours seem a little more in depth with it as well. So he's more on the technological and symptomologies. He's pretty much wanting to flood the courts with as many people as he possibly can. So
Yeah, and here we can prove the radiation and the burns on the bodies. I know I have thermal images myself because I do the thermal tomography, so I could take a photo and picture every single time I'm attacked, you know.
right.
Um, that's why I'm saying like it would be beneficial for me to go in. I'm not sure if I'm going to go in as an expert witness or if I'm going to go in as a victim. If we don't have the victims, I'm going to go in as a victim. I'm not going to worry about my business side or anything. I'll use personal evidence myself. And as you can see, I'm more than capable of explaining everything.
Yes, ma'am. Which is a blessing because a lot of people know the symptomologies of what they're going through, but they don't they're not very good at explaining what they're going through. Like myself, I can tell you all the things that I've been hit with and how long I've been hit with, but I'm not good at explaining the technical aspect of it. I do know the man that did my body scans as well and is willing to testify and explain it in court what
Okay.
he found on my body and what uh, he witnessed when he was doing my scans.
Now, I do know that John is looking for expert witness. So if you would go in there and testify, then we could use him, you whoever did your scans for you as the expert.
Okay.
And that would help the case along. That's where the kind of like the pro se side comes into play.
Yes, ma'am. That's the reason why I'm
Because we
reaching
could
out
use
to the
everything
TI community.
collectively. Yeah.
Because some people, even with like the doctors, I mean, I've been trying to reach out to some of the doctors, even I haven't addressed my own personal doctors, but I asked them to check for certain things without telling them that, due to directed energy weapons, just so I can get documentation of my attacks and my medical concerns, because prior to all this, I was a very healthy individual and never went to the doctors. But 2 years ago, the attacks were so strong that I went and had to go get insurance and go to routine doctor visits, even though they're all perpetrators and they're violating my HIPAA rights.
Right.
I still went and tried to get documentation, like when they were attacking my back, when they were attacking um, my chest, my thyroids and my tonsils, my eyes. I went to the doctors 2 weeks before I found the video cameras, and the only reason why I found it is because my perpetrators wanted to show the another TI what was in my eyes, and there's two different lenses, and he wrote me a prescription for glasses. Um, with these in my eyes that are hindering my sight, and told me that I could not wear contact lenses. Um, where prior I never had that problem. You know, I wore contact lenses just fine. Just like this go around, I will ask for my potassium levels and ask them to test my white blood cells because I've been exposed to this for long periods of time. And I'm a little concerned with the 30 years of research that I could possibly have leukemia from long-term exposure. So those are things that I'm going to specifically ask to test. I even had my gynecologist look for a vibrator in my private area because they were electronically raping me. You know what I mean? So I'm pulling
Right.
up all those medical paperwork. I know with my heart, when they were monitoring my heart, he would give me the report, but refused to give me the actual test.
Okay.
Oh,
Now, I know with the eyes, a lot of them will say, the optometrist at least will say that you can't use uh
they told me I
contact.
had, yeah, they told me I had to have a warrant to have any of these chips removed.
That is not true. You do not need a warrant. Uh because by law, it's a foreign object and you have every right to remove any foreign object inside of your body system, just like any medical sides, right? If if you have a herniated disc, you have a right to remove that bone that is causing you protrusion out of your skin.
Right.
It's your body. So you have every right to remove these chips and these objects. And for them to say it's illegal, it is not illegal for them to remove it. No. They just don't want to because the pharmaceutical companies are behind and they are the ones that are implanting people and doing all the medical studies on the human body, like NIH.
So can you go after the hospitals and the doctors for
Negligence,
yeah, do you add
abuse,
them to that?
assault. Yeah. But we first have to prove where that foreign object came in from and how it got inserted into your body. Because without the doctors saying um how
So
it got there, how did it get there? You
now
have to prove that aspect first
they broke into
before.
my house every time. All these was not done into a medical facilities. These were all done in 2016. Most of them, except for, you know, when I woke up last year with a needle puncture wound. These were all done while I was sleeping. They induced and drugged me. And, you know, even when I had liquid substance that was laced, I couldn't even get a toxicology or a poison control to even test a substance for it. Or nobody would take it in or, you know, tell me what I was drugged with. They refused to test it.
Right. Yeah, a lot of doctors won't touch the devices because they know that um it will lead back to them. So if they snuck into your house, do you have a police report?
No, ma'am.
So no police report.
I didn't even know I was being illegally chipped at the time. But
Right. I would stay away from that aspect, but if you could prove it, like the chips and stuff, I would
they're in my
focus more on
body.
that. Yeah.
I mean, they're obviously in my body, and I didn't put them in there.
Right. Um, and you have that physical evidence to prove it. That's great. I would stop there because sometimes even in the court system, less is more,
Okay.
right?
Yes,
It's
ma'am.
their job to prove that your evidence isn't real. And they'll have a hard time doing that because you have the expert witness to back up your claim.
Right. Not only that, I have videos and photo footage of them in my eyes moving around.
Okay. See, that would be part of the occipital lobe and the retina. I believe that contacts actually can block some of the infrared and the laser lights and manipulating it, but I have no evidence of that. I have no proof. That's just a theory. I haven't been able to prove
One
that
of
at all.
them is a pen size. One is brown, which is no bigger than that. If you can see that.
Yeah.
And then the other one is a clear one with a lightish brown tint. And it's a little bit bigger, but just smaller, a little bit smaller than a medium-sized contact. I don't know if you know the difference in the size. You know, a lot of times your contact will go to the outside of your pupil.
And
This
move
one will
around.
stay in the inside. But when they bump in, did you see it? When they bump into each other, they'll blur your vision. But those move by themselves. And I got videos and photo imagery of them.
Okay. All right. Well, that's something you would have to explain because that's a personal experience.
Mhm.
They don't do that with me, so I wouldn't be able to elaborate on that or talk about that. But that's something that you could elaborate on in your testimony.
Right.
Standing up in court. But that's something I wouldn't write in the affidavit. I would just talk about it being in your eye. Does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Because you don't want to give them your whole entire hand.
Right.
They already have it.
That's
Sure. But these people are also people that work for companies and corporations, and a lot of them lie on their documents and the files and the forms and everything that they fill out. So most of the things are all fabricated. And so the companies and corporations only have half truths.
right. Do you guys have any more questions for Amy that possibly we didn't go over?
Yeah, I have one for so you guys are filing it? Is that right, Amy? You guys are filing in Connecticut?
Yes, it's already filed in Connecticut.
Oh, it's already filed. So my question is, so the affidavits coming from out of state, they're not going to claim some type of, there's no jurisdiction. Nobody's been tortured in that area. I mean, they're not going to claim any of that. I'm not sure how that works, so I'm asking.
No, like I said, it is based off of creating laws. So there is no jurisdiction because the companies like Motorola, AT&T, Verizon, they're in everybody's states.
Right. And so having that enacted, is that going to be a company policy we're trying to shoot for so that it's worldwide? They can't do this, or what? Or is it just United States?
Currently just the United States.
Okay.
They can implement it globally later if they want
Right.
to. But
well, yeah, I think it should be, don't you?
In the books first, and to say it needs to.
Yeah. If the judge writes an opinion, and then other countries can use that opinion, I guess, if they're in the Commonwealth. But yeah, they could use that opinion.
Right.
Yeah, that would be cool. So is someone going to post the affidavit, the template, so people can see at least what an affidavit looks like?
Oh, I have it. Hold on, let me pull it up. I have the template created.
I would like you to talk to John about this, but my recommendation is don't put an affidavit in, just a claim, meaning these are people's claims you're submitting, not affidavits. That's just my recommendation. You can talk to John about it, but I think if people claim that these things are happening to them and tell their story, it's the same thing as an affidavit.
Right.
It's just different wording in the Commonwealth. So
okay,
you could talk to him about that, but that would be my recommendation. Highly recommended. And you don't need to come in pro se. You just come in as a man or a woman whose rights have been.
I don't know all the legal aspects on it. Like I said, I don't know how he filed. I'm just helping with him. So on my website, the events, and I get it. Some people are doing this whole sovereignty thing, right? But if you're not a sovereign citizen, we can't really abide by those rules and regulations. We have to abide by the federal court rules and their regulations. So,
Honey, we're all sovereign citizens. We're
right,
all sovereign citizens under the
I
Constitution.
have a state ID. I haven't claimed sovereign citizenship.
No. I'm not even talking about doing all that sovereignty stuff. I'm talking about just as a man or a woman in America, you have the Constitution, the Bill of Rights. That right there protects your sovereignty, not gives you sovereignty. It protects your sovereignty. So this is why I would like to talk to John, if possible, about what he's doing, just to see a little bit more. Maybe we could learn something. I don't know if he's ever available, but if he is, we'd like to do another Zoom with him.
Well, yeah.
And ask him some of these questions.
But like I said, we only have a month to do this. So
I got all day,
right.
all month. So anyway, if he doesn't want to do it, it's fine. I'm sure you'll still get a bunch of affidavits, but there are some questions that I have in terms of how he's pursuing it.
I understand that. I understand.
Yeah.
You could open up the docket, the case number, and you could read all about it.
Have you put that on there for us yet?
Yes, I'm showing the screen right now. This is the template. It has to be in size Arial font. So you would go up here to your font settings, and you would be able to, and also your paragraph settings, change it to a 2.0, and it needs to be in here. If you don't have Microsoft Word, you could download Office Libre. Office Libre is a free software for people that they could use, and it's just like Microsoft Word, except it has better things because you could also encrypt your documents, and you could hash them, and you could do a whole bunch of fancy, neat safety procedures instead of just using the developer and protecting your document on that aspect. Okay. So here, anything written red, you can remove on there. You can delete all of this stuff when you download it from it. I did enable editing. I don't understand why. So you could go when you download the document, you could delete it yourself. You would have to probably go into your editor like I did and grant it or appear. Sorry.
I got one more question. I mean, some of these targeted individuals, we do leave states away. And if they happen to tamper with our vehicles or something like that and are unable to travel, or they tamper with your flights or anything for the travel, what's your backup plan to make sure they get to the courtrooms to testify?
We're not making a backup plan for that as of right now. But with the statutes, you would want to make sure that everything is in order for you to get there. A lot of people have vehicles. I suggest you drive.
Right, but what if they tamper with their vehicles if you were planning on driving? And then you can't, a lot of us have
Well, we're not going to pay for vehicle expenses or damages or anything like that. That's all personal expenses. If they're damaging your vehicles, I mean, I could offer suggestions on how to fix your vehicle. I could teach you how to change your brakes. I could teach you how to change gas lines, fix straight pipes. I can tell you how to fix the alternator, the distributor caps. I could tell you how to change your starter out, the ignition switch, different fuses inside of your boards. I could help you out with that, but you're going to be responsible for your own travel expenses, your own hotel room, and the way you want to travel. Travel by train instead of flights. You could take a bus. You know, buses travel even during the snow, where trains could get delayed in the snow. So there's different avenues that you could get through. So on the template, I just have small little suggestions, resources. So if you want to state laws or statutes, right? I have links to the different laws. If they're saying that they're committing crimes on you, you would want to focus on those crimes. I talk about the 5G. I went over that with you. Voice to skull technology systems. You would want to talk about the radio speakers, the radio waves that are built in to all of the stores for tracking and tracing purposes. That could be for targeting and acquisition stations built in. Remote access everything. If you don't know what remote access is, Google it and you'll learn how they can access the different command lines and use data transfers with that. Okay, so right here, I have drawn up a little template, right, of different things that you could talk about. Right here, up on the top, in the header, is New Haven Judicial Court, Connecticut Judicial Court branch. It's out of New Haven, Connecticut. That's the date, the location, and the case number is written up here as well. Your name would be under as a plaintiff. The case number is here up on the left-hand side. Where I put this as because of who the defendants are. I'm not going to list all 54 of them. So you could leave this blank until we update.
We're not seeing it. We're still at the affidavit page.
Yeah, this is the affidavit.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought you were showing us a different document.
No, this is the template for the affidavit.
Okay.
The affidavit of. So here you would list your defendants. If you're going to testify, you would want to put in who you have evidence of and what department and company you're going into. Otherwise, you would leave it blank and we could fill that in and categorize you under who you would be more beneficial to. So like Verizon Power, right? Or you may have an iPhone 12, but who's your carrier? Right? Verizon. So we would probably put you under Verizon. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
To match your network that you're going after. So I suggest to leave it blank for now. You don't have to. You could put the company and the department who is involved when you look up the case number online and you're writing your affidavit, because there online it has all 54 defendants on there, and otherwise I would have had to do a whole list, and I had like less than 4 hours to get this template out to everybody.
So we don't type this up ourselves and just send you the email. You're actually sending it to the courts.
Yeah, I'm sending it to John. And we're going to categorize you. We'll put in the top portion. So you could leave that all blank for now, but your name should go at least under the plaintiff portion of it. Here I have the affidavit of, so you would type in your name. Right?
Right.
Okay, so and then I have some sworn statements of facts in here. And then you could go in there, Amy Hallam, being duly sworn, deposes and states as follows under penalty of perjury, which meaning I'm following the state laws, and any false claims that I make, I could get in trouble for perjury, but I'm standing here underneath oath basically right now telling you the truth. I'm affirming my testimony. And then here I wrote, my name is, you would want to put your name, right? Date of birth, I'm years old. What's your education level? Are you a U.S. citizen? Where do you live? Located in? I'm an American citizen. And were you a veteran or were you not a veteran? Kind of give a brief history of who you are. Why? It verifies your information that you're kind of telling the truth. And then I wrote, the purpose of this affidavit is to write out the current events that occurred on and between the dates of, and then you could put in your targeting dates, right? If you became a target the day one since you were born, write the date you were born, which matches your date of birth to the current date and time. And this is regarding to the case number right here. So that matches up here.
I don't see it.
Huh?
I don't see what you're pointing at.
The case number?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's still on the affidavit page. We're not seeing anything you're talking about.
Okay.
Yeah.
So anyways, I currently work for company blank. And so if you have a job, if you don't have a job, you don't have to put this in. You could delete it, right? You don't need to use it. If it doesn't relate to you, don't put that information in. I wrote examples down here of things that you could guys focus on, how you could elaborate on it, talk about your experiences, your date, when did it start, how did you notice it? Everything should be a timeline, date, month, year, time. On January 1st, I was attacked with a laser weapon from my phone, right? You would want to correlate date, times, months, years. A lot of people keep journals of their attacks or everything that is happening to them. Some of you don't. If you could use it as a timeline, that would be great. If not, then don't worry about it, but at least elaborate on your experiences. Talk about your experience. Are you stalked? Are you harassed? What crimes are being committed against you? Are they live streaming at you? Are they sexually assaulting you? Are they raping you? Right? With the different type of technologies. Talk about your medical situations. Talk about the problems with the doctors, any false diagnoses, medical diagnoses. Do you have sleep apnea? Do you have breast cancer? Do you have thyroid gland issues? I did put thyroid in there before you even told me, Maria, because I know that's one of the common spots that they hit right in your throat. Dermatitis, diabetes, collagen, right? Dry skin, dry, itchy skin. They take away our collagen, right? Are they sleep depriving you? Is it causing anxiety? Are you depressed because of it? Do you have any radiation burns, electrical burns, thermal burns? Talk about your medical situation. Elaborate on it. How does it make you feel? Does it feel like it's burning you alive? Right? You want to talk about those effects of the 5G technology systems. Now, what type of weapon systems are there? A lot of you don't know what type of weapon systems there are. I showed you some of the burns, right? With the laser and solar technology, microwave and radiation burns look a little bit different. So usually microwave burns are red patches. and they don't create a shape. They're all overplayed. It's like a wild splat, right? That would be considered a microwave burn. Those small little holes, talk about the laser technology. So the different effects on your body. Talk about if it's coming from your cell phone. I talked about the cell phone, the laser proximity, when I went over with your phone, Maria.
Yes,
You would do that same thing with your computer and your Wi-Fi. I gave examples on my page, on the website page for the different network information. How they could connect to smart meter technologies, your television, etc. How are they tracking and tracing you? Homing devices, LiDAR, right? Are they tracking you through your vehicle, your television, your cell phone, your computer? Is it a wide personal area network system? Is it a personal area network? Are they using Bluetooth? Are they using LoPan? Are they using Zigbee? Qualcomm, Verizon, use your carriers, your networks, right? Talk about the type of work, what type of technology is being used, computers, while you're at work, what type of light bulbs they have, LED light bulbs, motion sensors in the bathroom, light sensors. All of those are biometric sensors. Do you need key cards, voice recognition, fingerprints to access the areas at work, depending on your job? Your work and company and corporation can be selling your biometric data to other companies and corporations in order for them to even produce a tax. They could be selling you out and sexually exploiting you as well. So talk about work and what different types of things. If you work at Walmart, talk about the radios and the PA systems, the tinnitus, if you have hearing effects inside the store. If you get a sharp pain in your ear, what side of the ear? Is it the right ear? Is it the left ear? You know, all of those have big components on networking. The left side is your criminal components, where the right side is all governmental. Not a lot of people realize that. So the left side is all criminal sexual exploitation. The right side is basically all government.
wow. I didn't
Yeah.
know that.
Not a
Wow.
lot of people do, but I've learned that through my audio analysis and determining the difference between the front door access and the back door access. They have granted access where governors, senators, law enforcement specifically use, and that is on the government side, on the right side of your head. Your sex traffickers, your rapists, your murderers, your torture chambers are all on the left side.
They've been attacking this little spot a lot lately, but the audio
I'm
to
talking about inside your ear.
yeah, the auditory
You get the
effects will bounce back and forth.
The portion of the brain, you have to understand the portion of your brain, your right side of the brain controls your left body, your left side of the brain controls your right side of the body. So where they hit also determines on the lobe and the area that they're hitting. And this is part of the thermal tomography work that I do, because I can tell what type. Are they hitting your frontal lobe? Are they hitting your occipital lobe? Are they hitting your audio cortex? Are they hitting your visual cortex? Are they hitting your parietal lobes? Are they is it a Wernicke's area? Is it a Broca's area? Is it speech recognition?
Now the auditory aspect of it, you said you're able to do that. How much does that cost to have that done?
Which one?
Your auditorial.
Oh, my auditory, I charge $30 an hour. So minimum of 4 hours worth of work. So $125 roughly. No, it's cheap. It's affordable. Yeah, and that's through the SAF side. You could do add-ons like a summary. Usually if you pay for a summary, it takes an additional 3 days to write. I only charge $30 for that, but I probably spend about 20 hours working on it.
Awesome. And do they have to travel to Florida, or do you offer expenses and um travel?
That audio work could all be done remotely.
Oh, okay. So
I don't
we
even
can
need to
email
travel.
it to you.
Yeah, you could email me that and I could do the analysis, right? All of my work is remote except for my thermals.
Okay.
That's it. Yeah.
All right. So if we got recordings, we could send it to you and you will be able to defer that.
Yes.
Oh,
Okay.
awesome.
So I could go over, hold on, let me go over one of my audio reports that I've written.
And how do you recommend us recording this? Just regular voice recording or memo recording or video
If you
recording?
have older videos and older, where'd it go? If you have older videos and older audio files,
Mhm.
I prefer that. The reason I prefer that the newer ones is because usually I'll find information about myself. And I'll show that because your criminals don't know who I am.
Right.
They don't know what I do. They don't know the different type of information that I collect. Now, this is a report that I wrote for a client. They gave me permission to share this information because basically it's all about myself.
Right.
So, and he sent it to me specifically. He's like, my perps, my voice to skull was ranting and raving about you, Amy. Like they just were going ham over you. I've probably done like 40, 50 reports with this client already. So like we have a personal kind of bond, I guess you might say. So
Mhm.
he's like, analyze this just for yourself. I'm like, okay, cool. So it's somebody else's recording, but they were going ham on me, or at least harassing him about me because we've been able to identify a lot of information. So basically, I do two different sections. Usually, a lot of people just pay for the SAF portion of it. The raw side is the original formatting. I don't have to do any forensic processing on it. I could analyze the communications. They're right there on the top. A lot of them, you could only capture a couple of statements, but not a whole list of communications going back and forth. And that has to deal with the spectrums that I was talking about earlier and the frequency identification on there. The quadrature amplitude modulation systems, right?
Mhm.
Remember, we went over those. Each one of those are nodes. So each of these people who are talking are one of those nodes that are communicating at this time, right? They're
Right.
going back and forth with the criminals behind it. So like I was talking about, they say human love those titties, right? A nice rounded butts. So they're sexually assaulting us. They're considering their video voyeurism. They're we don't want that type of attention, but yet they're
Giving
saying,
it.
yeah, this is part of the voice to skull technology systems, so I could hear different tones, like a deep bass tone or a bang noise. Um, I could hear operating systems. I could hear LiDAR. I could hear sonar. I could hear radar. Can hear deployment of the weapon systems. I could hear the weapon systems warming up. I could hear the convections on the drones that are being used. I could tell the difference between gas or electric powered drones.
Wow,
I
impressive.
could I could tell what type of operating system using by the different pings and the noises that are inside of those audio files. So within that area in the section that I'm analyzing, I mark different types of tones and sounds within that section that I'm analyzing. So like, let's say I have to go by different locations depending on those communications of where they are at inside of those files. So you send me a 5-minute file. I didn't find anything within the first 2 minutes, but I found something in the 3rd minute mark. I would have to mark that location from 3 minute 5 seconds to 3 minute 5 seconds 0.2684 milliseconds, right? Or I would have to say it was identified between, like, let's say this deep bass tone is a long straight tone. And it's from the 1 minute mark to the 4 minute mark. But it's not at the 30-second mark. But I could hear the warm up from that mark, from the 1 minute mark to the deployment of that 4 minute mark. Does that make sense?
Right.
So I got to mark locations, which is why I blocked them out. You don't need to know that information, but that's in your report. So these communications within here are all on the top portion. SAF is my forensic, the subliminal acoustic fingerprinting side. So we hear those little nodes making statements, murder her, aim, lock him in, right through the walls. Okay, so they have some form of aiming technology right now that is going through the walls. That means they have to have some form of beam forming technology system. Hello from Wisconsin. That person right there is from Wisconsin, the state of Wisconsin. He lives in Wisconsin. That's where he's based at. But he's connecting into their network remotely through some form of system, and he's going to attack you. That's a new client and a new user. You got missiles, okay? They're using missile wave technology. That is a type of directed energy weapon.
Right.
So all of these communications, and they talk back and forth with each other. So maybe I watched videos. Hello from Wisconsin, right? Let's see if we could find something in relations. We watch you, Michael Baker. That's a different victim other than the client. So they can have multiple victims going after multiple victims at one time, depending on how large your network is.
Right.
Some are bigger than others. Some I only find 4 or 5 people. Some I find 18 males and 19 males and 6 females, you know. But what I do is I collect that information, and the blue marks in here all belong to me.
So even if it sounds like it
they
doesn't
were
have
saying
any
about
noise,
Yeah.
even if it sounds like there's not any noise and you know they're talking at the moment, just record them and send it to you?
Yeah. All I do is need an audio or a video file that you've recorded already, and I could analyze it for you. You would want to use something that is already considered evidence, or you would make a news recording, but I would suggest making multiple ones and probably spanning it out after a year so I don't find information about me. Because I am in Florida, you picked the wrong signal. Don't.
I know my perpetrators are here in North Carolina and Florida, so.
So here I work. that I only have officers attached to me, right? They're interested in my secrets. They want my informations. Um, that what they think about my work. They don't think I'm dangerous, which I'm not, but they put me underneath the Patriot Act. And then they call me a terrorist. But they're saying interesting, but I get it. Like they don't believe I'm a terrorist, but they're identifying me. And they're also saying how they mess with me and stuff like that. So if you capture, usually your criminals want to know who I am. So I always tell my clients to have older videos than newer ones. They can record newer ones, but I would suggest not sending to me for like 2 or 3 months. That way they get me out of their system.
What if I had a video that
And then I categorize them. So I capture different names, who's all involved with inside, different locations of where the people are located. I could find different types of weapon system here. We have with they're using an arc, they have Oriole units, they have a tracking system, they are using a tornado, a magnet. Magnet is basically your magnetron. That's to move the heavy metals inside of the body. They have a different type of cyclone drone. They're using different waves, alpha, beta, delta, and zeta. They have a ranger, which is a different type of drone as well. Different types of attacks on the body, like stake her vagina. Physical attacks. I could find the different locations on the body. They were talking about the titties, the heart rate, the brain, the microchips. That person has microchips inside of their body. The degrees that they hit them, what type of injuries that they're causing. They
you can do
talk
this
about,
all from audio?
yes,
What if I had a video a while ago where they distorted the sound in it? Would you be able to tell what type of weapon that was used or what they were doing? They were also making me sweat profusely at the time, and I tried to do a video about how they were assaulting me at work, and they distorted the whole sound in it.
yeah. It's all audible. It all can be captured, and that's what I do with my forensic work. I like I said, I don't normally share people's files
Right.
publicly. That is just a personal file that that person sent me to analyze, like I said.
Mhm.
But you're responsible for your own. And you have to remember what you're recording at that time does make a difference. If you're traveling down the road and you're recording with a dash cam, GoPro, your video camera to get stalkers, right? If they stalk or follow you, I'm going to find more information on vehicles, make and models, where they're turning from, their ground units, their stalking units, what store they're going into, how they're accessing that store, how they're following you, how they're connecting to your vehicle, right? How they're connecting and creating attacks on you through your vehicle, right? So if you're not traveling, I'm not going to capture that information.
Oh, I got
If,
plenty for you
yeah.
then.
So if you're focusing on more of the attacks on your body, like they're making your body vibrate and they're hitting your knee and they're making it pulsate, and you can see the visual pulsations on that screen, I'll gather more information on that type of weapon system, what type of match it with the physical wounds, the pulsating effects, how they're attacking you, where they're attacking you, and I'll get more of that personal area network system.
I got a lot of videos for you then.
Yeah, yeah. So that's the different type of forensic work I do, and everything can be validated into the court systems and be proven inside of the court systems as well. So, but it's a small step-by-step process, and you could use it for any of them. any of the lawsuits that are out right now, I suggest you not give that evidence to targeted justice, because their case, they don't need your evidence. They already have their plaintiffs and defendants, right?
Right.
So they don't need that evidence from you. They have their own evidence that they're using inside the court. The only thing targeted justice is doing is for the terrorist beta watch list, or and that is to see if your name is on there, and that's what I suggest you join them for, and get that evidence to see if you are on. I do offer background checks as well, but I do run them through 150 federal database systems, including the terrorist watch list. And I've only done 6 of them so far, but all of them have showed up negative. But like I said, like I showed you, I'm underneath the Patriot Act. So that does, granted, it's only 5. It doesn't mean that you're not on the terrorist watch list, but you could be under a different type of project or program.
Right.
Yeah. So
Are
you
you
could
listing the programs that Dr. James Giordani admitted to inside the lawsuits?
Huh?
Are you listing the programs that Dr. James Giordani has admitted to and all his videos in the lawsuit?
No, I don't have evidence of that.
Mhm.
And I have my own different military projects and programs I have probably over 100 different military projects and programs alone.
Oh, wow.
Um, as for him, Giovanni stating them, you could use that as an example inside the court systems, but unless you have evidence of that project being used, there's no proof that you relate to that project. Does that make sense?
Right.
Yeah. You
Even
have
though
to,
everything he's describing in his videos is all the symptoms and symptomologies we are experiencing, it doesn't prove that.
no, the symptoms do, because symptoms are universal.
Right.
It's the project itself. And Giovanni loves doing this to people. So, I don't know if you guys saw a recent video of his, but he enjoys it.
Oh yeah, he does tremendously. I actually found some videos a while back.
So
and of
anybody
course,
kind of working with him, you kind of would want to be suspect because they're just doing the same thing to you in your body.
right.
Right.
I actually found some videos and statements on the defense.org about the Air Force and Navy admitting to the experimentation. But they all state that we're consensual subjects and everybody isn't consensual. I mean, who would consent to have their lives torn upside down?
Right. And who would consent to being raped every single day?
Exactly. Or,
So they're lying, because maybe they are through the company and corporation and the third party contractors.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Yes,
If
ma'am.
you're working for a company and a corporation that has a government contract, well, you're agreeing to be that employee and to be their test subject and guinea pig with the military too at the same time. Although you didn't sign that portion of that contract, but maybe there's a contract and an agreement from employee to government that you are unaware of working with that company.
Right. Okay. Well, Amy, I really appreciate you. I'm definitely going to obtain your services because I got a lot of videos and um, I would like to compare my body scans to another individual's scans. Um, so I'll probably be taking a trip to Florida again here shortly.
Okay. Well, just let me know. I could always schedule in and stuff like that. And I can meet you in Orlando. I would just have to pay gas, since gas is really high right now. Just include that in.
Right.
Yeah. So, um, but yeah. Uh, if there's any more questions, anything that I could help with, please let me know. I'm trying to get this done. Plus, my report's out right now, so hopefully we could get everything. Anybody that's willing to join or interested in joining, um, and start passing laws.
Oh, yes, ma'am. I will get this out there almost immediately. I'm gonna email it to David. He'll edit it and um, hopefully we'll post it on his YouTube channel for us, and we will post it on all of our platforms. And of course,
Yeah, send me a link to it once it's completed, because then I could put it on my website and people could watch that more, and they could even learn about your case as well. And then once we hook up with Ryan, I could put in a different events page and his lawsuit and his information up on my website as well. But I need permission first.
yes,
So
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I agree with that, and I so appreciate this. This is very informative, and hopefully it's informative to all the other TIs as well. I really do
that's
appreciate
what I
you.
try to do, try to help everybody and try to train everybody. And it's so hard, just because of all the different type of work that I've been doing. And I don't have time to sit down and make videos. I don't have time to sit down and make podcasts and show everybody, because I'm working so hard and helping everybody on an individual basis.
Yes,
And I prefer honestly working individually, because then I can focus on just your situation and show you how to do things specifically in relation to you and what you're experiencing. Because doing everything out and saying, well, this method works for everybody, it doesn't exist.
no, but it gives them an idea of what they could do right now while they're waiting and accumulating. So, I mean, it's really, really great. A lot of people's having a lot of hard time gathering evidence or gathering proof or even finding people that are willing to touch it, because a lot of people won't even touch it, to defer from it. So this is really amazing, and I hope it reaches out between yours and Ryan's effort. I'm really grateful.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate
Really,
it.
really grateful. And
Yeah.
I will definitely get in contact with you one-on-one. And I hope this reaches to the TI community far and wide, and that we could all unite and start helping each other and getting this to a resolution.
Okay. Sounds great.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Y'all have a nice day. I appreciate it. Yeah. Oh,